What's happening, people? How are you? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. You know who I am. You know where Bugsy is. It's bedtime for her. She's kipping and dreaming of squirrels. Hope you're all happy and healthy doing the things that you love. We've got a wonderful eclectic panel, an eclectic mix to take you through the last, 90 minutes, something like that, of... well, at least my evening. I'm not sure other people are going to do things still. After that, we're going to be sending you over to see Jacob, who's right down here right now. But in a little while, where is he going to be? He's over here and he's over there. In a little while, he's going to be going to his show. We're going to send you there later on. But before we get out, we've got lots to talk about. How's everybody doing? Smash the like button. You know the rules. Not the rules, the guidelines. You don't have to do it. But the guidelines should be as is. 65% ratios, likes to views. And I'm keeping an eye on the views. And I know that some of you drop in and drop out. So as the time goes on, the ratio should get stronger. Smash it. Just hit the like button. It helps the channel out. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell. Drop a comment after the show, but keep the chat flowing and growing so everyone is knowing what is going on with the transfer window. We're going to have Fabrizio Romano on the get-go. He's going to be right visible, and we're going to be going through all of what's happening with Club Tottenham Hotspur and a few other conversations over the next 90 minutes. Let me start by saying hello to the people in the chat. People, not the people in the chat. You guys can wait 2 minutes. You can wait 2 minutes. Let me start by saying hello to people in the panel. We've got Jane. You know what? Sorry, Dave. If you're having I know you're there, mate, but you're having a smoke. And you haven't even got your Irish Hotspur profile. So I'm putting Jacob on the top shelf.
Did I just move top shelf? Wow.
You did, and I'm actually going to put James top shelf as well. I'm going to get relegated. Let me start by saying hello to Jacob. How are you, my man? What's crack-a-lacking?
Happy Thursday. We are almost at the weekend. That means we are almost back to some more Ange ball. Let's all remember what we fell in love with, and that's Papa Ange. And that's how I'm feeling. Too blessed to be stressed, my friend. I know emotions are riding high with things going on. Lone FC has officially begun to take shape. But you know what? Sometimes I can be okay if the end result is what we're trying to do is get him out of the door. But outside of all that, Sean, personally, I'm doing well. Just feeling great to be here, man. Thanks for the invite. Big up, James. Big up, David. Good to be here.
It's great to have you, mate. I love the fact you're too blessed to be stressed. Dave did hear what I said about his little profile thing. Because he's popped back in the right time. I'll come to you next, Dave. How are you, mate? Welcome back.
Yeah, I'm good, my man. I'm good. Hopefully, we have another good discussion over the next hour and a half. The good discussions continue and roll on. But look, it's the window started off on fire, and again, it's sort of a bit like last year, failing to deceive near the end of it, and it's frustration, really, frustration, my man.
Yeah, well, we've got lots to talk about in that regard. And also, I want to get people's vibes on just what's going on with the energy of this football club fan base. It's pivoting from left to right. That the violence that is being shown right now in the volatility, it goes from famine to feast, from feast to famine and back again. James, tell me you're level-headed. Tell me you're feeling balanced. Tell me you're not losing your mind 1 minute because of a dodgy penalty loss and a couple of bad decisions in the transfer window, and it hasn't spoilt your entire early season optimism, has it? Please be reasonable. Let me know what's going on.
I lost my head after that game. I really was angry, but I've become a bit more level-headed now, Sean, and I'm sure I'll be level-headed talking to a brilliant chat and a brilliant panel lineup, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you, mate. No, I'm going to stay with you, mate. I'm going to stay with you. But before I do, let me because we've only got... We've got a little bit of time. We got like, I don't know, we got 90 minutes, say, for example, until Jacob's show starts. So let me just whip through, and I'm going to say hello to the members first. Sander Milligan and Donovan Davis, welcome to you guys, the very first people. I'm going to say hello to you guys. But everybody else who's not a member, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm going to say hello to you in general right now. But one of the perks of being a member is that you do get a little special hello at the start of shows. So I'm going to go for it because I've got so much to talk about with 4 people, and it could be 5, it could be 6 people shortly joining. So I've got to say hello. Game of Throw-ins, what's crack-a-lacking? Big up, Sean, and chat. Hope you are well. We are all good. Adrian Stroker's in the house. Big up. Good evening to you, mate. Berto, what's crack-a-lacking? Good to see you. I haven't seen you. You must have been one of the lucky recipients of a gifted membership. Or you maybe bought it recently and I haven't seen you, but welcome. Let's have a look. Who else we got? We got Top Spurs. What's happening, my man? Good to see you, Bonnie. Good to see you, Dean. Big up my current house. Sorry, Sean, but I had to get out of that last one. What last one? When you in the last one? Hey, 10 minutes ago. Did you call me out? For saying that what you
Sean, I think something may have happened with your mic. It sounded like something may have got
I thought it was
unplugged.
just me there for a minute.
I was looking at the other guys, and they were having the same expression as me. So
What's happened? Are you
there
back?
it is.
Oh, you're
It's
back
better.
now.
Yeah, it's
Back
back. Yeah.
Mate, you
What
sounded
happened?
like
How
you
mu-
just
how much
went
did I
under the
miss?
Atlantic Ocean or something.
Just
Yeah, you're back
just
now.
like 7 seconds maybe. So you're good.
Sound like you
I
went
was
trophy
underwater.
diving.
I was in the mud. Was I in the mud?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
You just
more
fell.
in the mud than that
You got up,
Celtic
though.
the other night, mate.
You're
You're
buried
up
in the
now.
mud.
I was
You're up
speaking
now.
from the mud. Yeah, we've all been there. We've all been there occasionally.
At one point, I heard Ollie Skip's little voice after he was in the mud on Tuesday. Honestly,
Good to see you, Mike. Good to see you, Nige. How you doing, man? Big up 25 and a half hours to go. Exactly. Just a harmless potato. Here we go. Where are we going? Good to see you. We got Stratters in the building. What's happening, Stratters? We've also got Spurs GCTV. Big up, Sean. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. And we've got Dafar Shur in the house. A lot of members in tonight, as is Side Dancer. Love to see it. David loves me. I love you too, David. You know what? When you say those sorts of things, I'm going to call them up regardless of your membership status. Lesson learned to the rest of you that aren't members. If you want to get your message called up, tell me how much you feel about me. Tell me what's going on. No, I'm only kidding.
Show
Don't do
some
that.
love.
Random YouTube commenter. What's happening? Do you think the Johnson deal is going to happen or not? We're going to talk about it in just a second. Nigel's in the gaff. Who else we got? The Americanka's here too. Big up, Americanka. Where are you in the world today? You travel around Eastern Europe. Yeah, I don't know where you are. But I love it. Love it to see it. Woodsy 1021's a new member. Big up, Woodsy. Great to see
Big
you.
up,
Thank you
Woodsy.
for the support. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. Anybody else I haven't said hello to yet? Mia W's in the house. A special hello to you. Indeed it is. And Callum Roche and Johnny Boy. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right, guys. I think that's about everybody. Oh, no, wait, there's more. Roo Spurs in the house. What's happening, Roo Spur? Good to see you too. John Tucker's here too, as is Rob Frank. Oh, listen, it's absolutely insane. Sander Melligan
loaded.
joined as a member.
You're feeling the
Also, I said you
stadium.
weren't a member. You got to join as a member. I called you out anyway, bro. You were the first one in the gaff. You were the first one in the gaff. And we got a super chat from Elvis. Elvis is in the building too. He hasn't left yet. Great panel tonight. We're doing it again. Well, we're going to find out if we are. Big up to you, mate. Really, really appreciate the super chat. Really appreciate everyone that's joined in. Let's get going. 446 people in the house right now. Smash the like button. Smash the subscribe button. Smash the notification bell. You're going to find Jacob, James, and the Irish Hotspur. And, of course, this new man who's just joined in the background. Welcome to the show, Jay. Debut on the channel.
How are you doing, guys? I appreciate the invite. It's getting to squeaky bum deadline time, so it's a bit. It's starting to get a little bit nervous, boys. So
well, we're going to try and calm it all down. We're going to come up with some absolute brilliant theories on how this is going to figure itself out as a 7 out of 10 window. Jay, welcome to the show, mate. James, up the top. I'd start with you. Let me start with you, bro. Where are we at with the window? What's going on right now? We know that the Reguilon's gone. Let's start with that one, right? First and foremost, are you okay with it? And B, does his exit, although desirable or not, does it increase the likelihood of people coming in? What we're talking about with Reguilon, does it make sense to you?
It doesn't make sense because I feel like left back we're actually quite light if you think about it. We've said about our fullback options are very light. Does it make room for more? Absolutely. I think at the end of the day, our squad is so bloated from many managers of just absolute Deadwood signings that don't work under Ange. And I mean, Reguilon he clearly isn't in Ange's plans, right, guys? He's just one of these players that seems to just, he's going to be he would have been third choice left back, wouldn't he, really?
Yep.
So, I mean, it makes room. It makes room in the squad, and I expect
you're happy for him
more
to go
signing.
then. Like, you're not one of those people that are worried about, like, why are we strengthening Manchester United? Do you even think we are strengthening United, or is it?
No. I don't think Reguilon's even that good. At the end of the day, this guy went from Real Madrid, and everyone was so excited that he came from Real Madrid. But at the end of the day, he went from Real Madrid for a reason. He's not that good of a player, if I'm being honest. And going forward, he just really killed me going forward. He did my head in. I mean, He's great getting down the wing, but his crossing and his finishing were awful, like awful under Conte at times. It was poor.
Right. So you seem you're okay with it, especially if it helps us bring new players in. Because I guess the status quo is we've known about this for weeks. For us to bring players in, we need players to go. We've got a problem moving some of this Deadwood out. People that don't just putting their feet in the sand. I ain't going like Leonardo DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street. I ain't leaving. Like, these guys are not going. So we have to go to the second, the players that maybe we are less desirable to leave, but more willing to go. Players like Højbjerg, players like Reguilon. Dave, I'll come to you, mate. You make the counter argument. I've heard it, but I want everyone else to hear it. You think Reguilon should be hanging around, right?
I think Reguilon should be kept around. I think we're weakening areas of our squad to try and strengthen other areas. And for me, this window shouldn't be about that. We've had more than enough time to be able to clear out other Deadwood so we wouldn't find ourselves in this situation. When I look at what Ben Davies has to offer to Udogie, complete night and day. Udogie wants to get on the ball. He can attack, he can dribble, he can take people on, but he can also link up with other people. What did Ben Davies offer Tuesday night? Nothing but playing the safe ball inside, stat padding, and that's because he doesn't trust himself in the half turn. He can't take people on, and he can't link up with people, and he doesn't trust his passing. That's why every pass went inside. And we've seen the effect of the disparity between Ben Davies at left back and Udogie at left back. And for me, I think Reguilon offers, does he offer the same as Udogie? No. But does he offer closer to what Udogie offers us? 100% he does, and he'll suit Ange's system better. I disagree with James saying he's third choice left back. I disagree with that. He played left back pre-season, not Ben Davies. Ben Davies played centre back. And when I look at it, I think the only reason why he didn't play Tuesday night is because this loan move to United was lined up, and they didn't want to risk an injury or anything like that, or risk this deal going through. Look, again, about the club he's going to, you can't pick and choose, right? But for me, I think we're disadvantaging ourselves and advantaging a rival for that for in the league. Although you can't really pick and choose what club we're going for. And for me, it doesn't show any more weight to showing the likes of Ndombele, Dyer, and that out the door, because all it does is free up another space and let them dig their heels in. And the fact that there's people interested in Reguilon and there's not in someone like Ben Davies and some of these other guys shows to me that we shouldn't really be letting him go. We should be looking to keep hold of him, and we should be forcing other people out the squad.
But Dave,
Dave,
sorry, can I just very quickly say, Dave, I agree with what you're saying to an extent, but do you not think that Ange is clearly not too keen on Reguilon in terms of him playing under the system? I know what you're saying. He's the most similar to Udogie. He's progressive, and Ben Davies is Mr. Sideways. I completely get that. But do you not think that Ange has looked to Reguilon and said, loan him out, I don't need him in the plans?
I don't believe so, no.
I think it's clear that he has. I'm going to actually agree.
It's not.
Say,
when you look at his fullbacks at Celtic, Alistair Johnson, who was the other guy, Juranovic, people like that, people that could play with the ball, people that could get up and down, people that could link up with people that could cross a ball. No one's sitting here. Do not sit here on this panel and try and tell me Ben Davies is an Ange Postecoglou fullback, because he's not. No,
I agree with that. But what I'm saying is, could we potentially bring in a left back tomorrow? I'm playing devil's advocate here.
We're looking at one, aren't we? Lloyd Kelly, but we'll talk about him in a minute. Let's not jump the gun on Lloyd Kelly. It's all right. That's all good. Jacob, you wanted to disagree with Dave? I'll let you come in.
Yeah, I just feel like it was pretty evident by the reason that I look at it is week 1 of the preseason, his first go at it, we saw Reguilon start there at the left back. He got absolutely torn to bits by Jared Bowen, showed his ineptitude defensively, I thought, in a preseason match that didn't really matter too much. So at that point is when I was like, no, give me Destiny. The next match you see Destiny start, and then you start hearing the quotes of Ange basically saying something to the effect of, yeah, Benny's a versatile player. He can play these different positions. He works hard. So he already started bigging. So I saw the writing on the wall at that point. Reguilon's half foot out the door because he's one of these players, that we could actually try and get moved, which sadly is now a loan deal rather than a sale. But regardless of that, he's one of the players that when you look at like the first 4 names that people were throwing around of clubs being interested in, he was one of them. So he does bring value at the position. I'm not saying he's a god-awful player or that Ben Davies is a better Ange fullback than this guy, but my thought is Ange got that good look at him, saw him get torn up by Bowen and said, this guy can't offer me what I need defensively. Maybe he could offer it going forward, so that's why he got the start. And I don't understand the Davies thing. Dave, I was listening to you on Irish Hotspur earlier talking about, 3 years ago, we're talking about give me anybody, give me Dennis Serkins. I can't even remember his name sometimes. It's because we just wanted to see anybody other than Ben Davies. And here we are 3 years later still talking about I need something better than Ben Davies. And I think that's what at least that Fulham match told me, that look at all these holes that we have. There's no depth. At least 9, you could argue 10 positions. So Reguilon being one of those that, as far as why he didn't play at all, I don't know that it wasn't that we weren't going to risk it. What is this really, what do we lose if he did play and get hurt? We don't lose more than, what is it, a loan deal?
If you played him on Tuesday night, then you face the situation that Chelsea found themselves in with Cucurella, where the only reason that Man United have gone for Reguilon is because Cucurella was cup tied, even though I find that a really bonkers.
Is that what they said? Is that kind of like confirmed?
Well, that's the story that's come out. I find it personally bonkers that you would lower that, because Cucurella versus Reguilon, to me, there's absolutely no debate. I think Cucurella is far superior. And, a lot of Man United fans are sitting there saying, Chelsea cooked the goose by playing Cucurella. It's all bonkers to me. Jay, let me bring you in, my man. Welcome to the show. First opinion that you're about to give. I love it. I love your opinions, mate.
I'm
not afraid of being controversial with it as well.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, like personally, on a window point of view, I'm a big fan of I'll do the post-mortem afterwards. There's a lot of people like to give a director's commentary. Running commentary on the window every day, every window, like little rumor from some Deportivo paper with like a little old man at the corner of the street.
That's what I do every day with my dog.
Yeah, they're like, nah, Levy's a criminal because. So first of all, the Reggie deal it's one of these deals where it's like, I'm not. Like, a lot of fans will come in and they'll be like, yo, like, we need to cancel contracts. We need to do this. We need to do that. To me, that's just bad business. Yeah. Like, it costs you X amount of money to pay up a contract. If somebody is willing to cover the wages for X amount of time, you do not need to pay up that contract. Ergo, you are now up between 5, 10, 15 million. So I've never really been a big fan of that. But with Reggie and some of these players, like, they think they're better than they are. So, hey, what's going on? So they think they're better than they are, yeah?
Is he talking about you? I thought he was talking about me, to be honest.
I think...
I thought he's talking about me.
Yeah. It could be any one of a number of us, to be honest, Jay.
Big up, John.
Yeah.
Big up, Johnny.
With Reggie going to United, it's one of those, like, some really good points on how he plays. I find him very erratic. He doesn't do consistent movements. Like, so he'll do something, and I don't think Ange at all would trust him inside the pitch, inverting in the pitch and playing in that area. Reguilon, no. Turnover central. So he doesn't back him from that point of view. That's not to say, Irish Hotspur, you're not right in terms of, like, offensively in certain areas, he'll go outside the man. He's probably more likely to give you an assist, but maybe that's not what the formation needs. In terms of him getting off the wage bill, like, I use the Nathan Teller example. It's my new example when people talk about loans, yeah? Because Nathan Teller, last summer, Southampton could have sold him for what, 7, 8, 9 million, yeah? They loaned him instead to Burnley. He had a great season, yeah? Now he goes to Bayer Leverkusen for 20 million. Yeah. Southampton make more money. He's now playing at Leverkusen, etc., etc. So with Reggie going to United, they've got no left backs. He's going to get game time. Yeah. Until January. So win-win situation. He either performs so badly. Yeah. He kills his value forever from a Premier League point of view. Or he performs well and United keep him around for the season.
You say that, Jay, but Ndombele won a league with Napoli. He's still here, isn't he?
It's true, but Ndombele as well is turning down certain moves. Do you know what I mean? It's not like there's no interest in the player. And the formula as well, like with Ndombele, 200 grand a week. Look, it's a 10 million pound investment from a club that want to take him, and that's whether or not we're asking for a loan fee. You know, so from my point of view, with certain deals that they're harder to do than other deals. Spence is like a teller deal, and Ndombele is you don't want to pay out 20 million pounds to pay his contract up. You know, can we mitigate the financial impact of him as much as possible? Because a 20 million hole on this player, we've already lost enough on this player from performances and output and things like that. Let's not lose 20 million pounds on top of it just to, you know what I mean?
Ndombele.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, I'm sorry. Like this argument about tearing contracts up, I've tried to explain it. I think me and Dave had a back and forth about it about an hour ago. To me, coming from it from a business perspective, like the financial side, this argument that it makes sense to tear contracts up is only really relevant if you have an ambitious set of owners that are going to put the difference in through their own pocket and sort of like sustain the willpower of the club's budgets with additional money, because you're going to end up sacrificing not just the 20 million quid of Ndombele. First of all, it has to come out immediately, which I said before on Dave's show. It screws up your cash flow, and that has a lot of like cash flow is everything for businesses. On top of that, it also, not that it's relevant to Tottenham, but it does have an impact on FFP. But more importantly, it sets a terrible precedent. I don't know. I think we are maybe running the risk of already having set the precedent with Matt Doherty, because we screwed up on the loan deal last January.
Aurier as well.
Aurier as well, right? And you've got 5 or 6 players right now whose agents are telling them, sit on your hands, don't worry about it. They're going to come back and tear your contract up, and then you can go and get a new signing bonus and the money elsewhere anyway. And all 5 of them are sitting there talking to each other on text messages saying, don't go anywhere. We're all going to benefit from this, when Daniel Levy ends up having to pull the trigger on it. It's an absolute disaster. You do it once, you do it 5 times, it's going to be a very expensive exercise.
I would argue, though, that from a business point of view, it also makes sense when you look at the loss in TV revenue because of how far we've fallen. When you look at the loss in prizing money and competition money of how far we've fallen. When you look at the constant turnover in managers, then you have to go and buy and pay wages for the managers that certain player wants as well. That's also the knock-on of cost and effect that's not measured into it. So I'd also counter that by saying, yes, maybe it's not a good business practice, but it's also cost us a lot more in terms of paying for managers, players, etc., over the last 3 years. That for me, at some point, you have to weigh all that up, and you surely by now we're at the point you weigh it up, and you go, okay, well, I need to cut my cost. I need to take that short-term loss.
But what's the benefit here? Like, if you look at it from the point of view of saying, okay, Ndombele, to tear up Ndombele's contract versus
the benefit is we can bring players in, and we're not sitting in this position that we're talking about right here tonight, right?
But you could still loan him out. As in, like, deadline day is still tomorrow. Like I said, the post-mortem point of view. We bring in Lloyd Kelly, Gallagher, and Johnson tomorrow, and I find it difficult for anybody to say we've had a bad window.
What do you rate? You know what? Actually, I'm going to talk about Lloyd Kelly, because I don't know. I'll be honest. I feel embarrassed that I don't feel like I know enough about this guy. I usually pride myself on educating myself on players. Don't feel like I know enough about him. Before we get there, just let me pause 1 second, Dave. I'll come back to you in a second. I want to get Jacob and James into it as well. But I've got to shout out a couple of things. First and foremost, we got a new member in Stephen East, who's gone out of his way. He's joined the Spurs Talk Show, Puppies or Ponies. I'm not sure which one it is, but I absolutely adore you for the support, my man. Really cool to see you, and I can't wait to meet you on the Fan Phony show next week. I've also got once again, I can't bring it up in front of me, but I'm gonna have to speak it out. My man, Blaine from Ireland, absolute legend, my man. He's gifted 5 memberships once again. You're the most generous Tottenham fan I've met with your contributions to the other people being able to access certain things. I see you do it on everyone's channel. It's wonderful. Let me find out who did you gift. You gifted Joe, Drula, Mitchell D, Liston Hines, and Bill. Is that right? Is that right now? I think it is. I think I'm live with that right now. Massive shout out from you guys. I hope you're saying thank you to Blaine Dev in the super chats as well. Sorry, in the comments as well. So shout out to you, Blaine Dev, mate. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to meeting you five on the calling shows very soon. Let's get back to the conversation. Where were we? Sorry, Dave, finish your point that we were talking about the tearing up of contracts, and then I want to get Jacob and James's take on it as well, and then we're going to move around to the next topic.
No, it's just more so what Jay was saying, that if we bring in 3 players, nobody will be complaining tomorrow. We have to get rid of players. We have to get rid of players before we can bring anybody in. So, I mean, this is what I talk about. At some point, you have to do something you don't really want to do, or you have to do something that goes against business 101 to make this happen. That's all.
No, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. My only comment before the boys jump in is basically that there's time, and with a window where you have a new manager as well. And the new manager potentially wants to look at some of these players. I think that's one thing that people don't mention as much with this window, is that some of the players like Lo Celso, Perisic, who were probably going into the season, like as in these players were earmarked to move, have now become squad players. And that happens when the manager surveys the squad. So yes, I think that you're right that we do need to bite the bullet, and at a certain point you have to stop kicking the can down the road. You got to pick it up, you got to deal with it. But on the flip side, you can also say the mitigation of bad investments to further hemorrhage money on those bad investments, I completely understand, considering we're quintessentially stingy. But you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, I got you.
James, let me bring you in, my man. What's your take on the idea of tearing up contracts? Look, I think ultimately we're at the point, we know where we are. Right? We got to move more players on. Reguilon's the first one that's gone out the door. It looks like Tanganga's next. That's 2 somewhat defenders or part of the back that's going out. If Tottenham need to bring a centre-back, we all want a new centre-back in. That's going to be an upgrade. I mean, how many more players do you think we can realistically move on before any of those kind of conversations of last chance saloon, tearing contracts up, come into play? And at what point do you go, we've got 12 hours left, or we got 24, 15, 8 hours left? Yeah. At what point do you have to go, we got to make some drastic decisions here?
Sean, I'm going to indirectly answer this question because I feel like we just are always talking about the same thing. I mean, I've been coming on these podcasts for the last 2 years, and every single window we end up talking about doing stuff last minute, pulling the trigger, ripping up contracts. I'll quickly loan this player, quickly pluck out the sky a random player from Liga NOS in Portugal and get him in on a 6-month loan. I'm bored of it. Why don't we have more planning time? We've had 3 months to sort out this window, and we're talking on August the 31st about tearing up contracts. This shouldn't even be a conversation. Yeah. It really shouldn't. Why are we not more organised as a football club? Ange came in 3 months ago, and I'm not saying it's Ange's fault whatsoever, but he would have known exactly who he wanted to keep after seeing the first few pre-season games. It's not a bloody surprise that Ben Davies plays like a donkey on Tuesday night, because I've been saying it on podcasts for 2 years, and I get to the point where you say it about being level-headed, mate. I'm so bored of talking about Davies, Sanchez. Oh, we'll give him 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th chances. Why do we need to give them 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th chances? Why are they not gone last year, the year before that? Why are we not recruiting sensibly for the future? Why are we always talking about these same Deadwood players? At the end of the window, we're still talking about them. I thought in June and July we'd move half of these guys on, and we're still mentioning it. I'm bored about talking about ripping up contracts and stuff, because we should have just loaned them or sold them for peanuts, because they're no use to us and they're probably no use to anyone else. But let's get them out.
But if you can't force them out, like it's one thing being like, I would imagine that if Ndombele, if Tottenham got a bid and it was 0, but we'll pay the guy his full wages, I reckon Tottenham would have gone 100%. You can go. But if Ndombele doesn't want to go, if these guys don't want to leave, you can't put a gun to their head and ask them to leave. And I think that's what we're seeing. We've already arranged deals for Hugo Lloris, for Tanganga, for Sanchez, for Ndombele, for Reguilon, for Højbjerg. We've already arranged all these deals in principle, and none of them have come to fruition yet because these players don't want to go, because they're not going to get the same.
Then the club have to be prepared to carry wages.
And also, James, in terms of like, you're quite critical of like, I think Spurs have had pretty good continuity transfer planning over the last year, 18 months. Even players like Sarr and Udogie, who were purchased, loaned back, and then have come into the squad following it. Like, obviously, outgoings are different. Like, as in, like Spurs also just said, like, if you're in a situation where you've got outgoings, I think we have to be logical here. Like, you're not. We can be fed up with the situation, but that doesn't change the situation. The situation still exists.
But Jay, what you've just mentioned there, you're talking about incomings. Outgoings has always been a problem at Tottenham. We always sell a player or try and get rid of them too late in the window. And we're here talking about, 31st of August. We've got 24 hours left. Yeah, we're still going on. Ndombele might go out on loan, or we've still got Davies, Deadwood. Why are we still talking about it? Why is it not done earlier? That's what I'm saying.
But my point and rebuttal to that is that, like, obviously we've had about a month, just less than a month since we came back from tour. So whilst you can say, okay, we've had all this time, really we've had a month from when Ange has surveyed, analysed the players, and has made a decision on who he wants and who he doesn't want. People like Lo Celso went up, and people like Reggie, you got to go. So in that time period, a number of these players have had moves arranged, and they are turning the moves down. And we're going to get to deadline day, and it's going to be these players, you will not be registered in the squad because, there's no space. And that hopefully is going to be the kick for some of these players to maybe move and move on. And whilst you're right, we've not sold well, but I also see the fan base insult these players regularly and say they're trash and say they're rubbish and say they're this and say they're that. So what makes you think that all of these top scouts, top data scientists with all their info are not looking at the same data that you're looking at, same eye test that you're looking at, and we're struggling? We made bad transfers and now we're struggling to shift the players. I get where you're coming from, but that's just a situation, and we've just got to deal with it. And hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to do some good business. But I think the club's tried. I genuinely think the club has tried, and it's the.
I tend to agree with you, Jay. I tend to think that, like, a lot of people on Twitter are losing their minds. Obviously, there's a proclivity for people to find a reason, if there is one, who already have a disposition to hate Daniel Levy, to digress into that mindset after 3 consecutive good games in the Premier League. The mood was a little bit too positive, and now the Fulham game followed by some struggles in the transfer window. The Levy out bandwagon is in full effect again. Welcome, Sava. Welcome, Henry. Before I come to you guys, Jacob, I want to get your take on it. Who do you blame for this inability to move players out, mate? It's been a struggle for not just the last couple of days. It's been a struggle the whole summer. Yeah, is it the players that are just feet in the sand, don't want to go, bro? I ain't fucking leaving. Or is it Daniel Levy? Is it the people, the bygone, directors of football that made these mistakes in the first place? Who is it? Someone's got to be at fault for this stuff.
I think you got to start at the beginning of the head of the snake, which was who signed the contracts that made it this airtight to where they can literally sink their claws in and we can't move them out. I think that's where I would start the blame. And then I would blame whoever's in charge that's not doing a good enough job at shipping them out. I mean, at the same time, you can't force clubs to come in and make bids on these players. If they've watched Spurs over the past few years, they know that these players can't offer them much. The fans are fed up. We're all fed up. So I think that they understand, there's probably a better chance I could get this guy on a loan, i.e. like Reguilon, and somebody else. So for me, I just blame whoever wrote the damn contract that kept him at the club for this long, or at least made it that airtight to where they have so much power in saying where they can go. Because to me, that's the part that I would look at. I don't know the structures of contracts. I'm not going to sit up here and claim that I understand the ins and outs of what those contracts look like. But personally, the power's got to be delegated to the club somehow, and we just don't have that power from the players. When you sign Ndombele on these kind of wages and X amount is guaranteed. Well, I was also told back in May by Paul O'Keefe that we were supposed to be ripping up contracts. It's ginormous revolution or ginormous whatever word he used. I can't remember.
He actually
in May.
updated that. Someone called him out on Twitter about that today, and he actually updated and said, someone said, like, what were you making it up? Was that your opinion or was that based in fact? And he said, well, at the time is what he'd heard, but at the time, Scott Munn was supposed to be arriving and taking over these things, but that whole thing got scuppered because of rule breakings with Scott Munn's gardening leave, and consequently Daniel Levy's still taking over, and that stuff hasn't happened. So read into that what you will. I don't know. I just, for me, I feel like, well, you know what? There's 6 of you in here, so for me, it's not about me anymore tonight. Saba, welcome to the show, buddy. I mean, we're trying to figure out why it is that we're stuck with this Deadwood, and how much of it can we realistically expect to get done tonight, tomorrow morning, before we can start bringing players in?
Tonight or tomorrow morning. I mean, this is Tottenham, isn't it? This is we've got down to the last few days of a transfer window again, and I'm hearing the same old excuses rolled out year after year after year for mismanagement of this football team. This all stops at Daniel Levy's head. At some point, you've got to say that the snake's head, if we want to call it that. Daniel Levy has to take the blame for this. This has all been done under his guidance. Look, I'll say this. I understand when you can't move an Ndombele on who's on 200 grand a week and is the way he is, right? I get it, right? I get it. That's the sort of guy you have the conversation with and go, do you know what? All right, cool. You won't go. You know what? If you won't go, you're not being registered. Go and train with the reserve. You're whatever. Go and train on your own. You're not being registered, just whatever. People like Dyer, people like Lloris, these players that aren't on 200 grand a week and have 1 year left of their contract, for me, there's zero excuse for not ripping up these contracts at the beginning of the window, saying, we don't want you. You aren't in our plans for this season, right? And creating squad spaces. How much would it have cost for, let's just use those 2 examples, Lloris and Dyer, probably about £6 million for their wages between them for the year. What would it cost to rip up those 2 contracts, right? 6 million odd quid, whatever it is.
I'd say 15 million between them.
But that's completely incorrect, isn't it? Because their salary is 15 million between them.
Dyer's on 100. Lloris is probably on
Dyer's not on 100. Dyer's not on 100 grand a week.
I swear
Dyer's on 72 grand a week.
I swear Dyer's on 100.
Dyer's on like 78 grand a week.
I'm sure Dyer's on 100k.
Okay.
Run.
Okay, even if between the 2 of them, it's 8, 9, 10 million pounds, right?
Okay.
For the sake of the football club and needing space to get more players in, rip up 2 contracts at least so you can have some space to bring players in. I understand you can't do that with everyone. When people were saying we're going to rip up 8 or 9 contracts, I never believed that was possible. I never believed that was going to happen.
But isn't that the precedent that you're set then, mate? Isn't that by doing it to one, doesn't everyone else who thinks they want on a draw sits there and thinks, you know what, I'm just going to sit on I'm not going to go anywhere. They'll rip up my contract too.
Sure, there is that, but we've seen examples of other clubs that have done this to get these players out of the club. Arsenal being the biggest one with Mesut Ozil, right? It can be done. My point is this. I don't want to hear, listen, this is just me. You know how I am. I don't want to hear any excuse about Postecoglou needed time to see these players in pre-season. Postecoglou hasn't been living under a rock for the last 5 seasons, right? As we said, these managers, these scouts, these people that work for all these managers, they know how bad Davinson Sanchez is. They know how bad Eric Dyer is. They know that Højbjerg's limited. They know Sessegnon, blah, 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 blah. The moment they said all of those players were going on tour, you knew this was going to happen because it was more excuses again. Those players didn't all need to go on that tour. We know it. Yeah, everyone in here knows the limitations of these players. Dyer, Sanchez, Sessegnon, Davis, Roden, Tanganga, Skip, Højbjerg. If he takes all of them on tour to see them play, the first question I'd ask is, why didn't you know how good they were before when we all know? Everyone across the world knows what they're like.
Especially if he's supposed to be someone that watches as much football as he apparently does, right?
Right, exactly. So we can't use this excuse every time a new manager comes in, that the manager needs time to look at the same failed players year in, year out. At the end of the day, this window, I'll call it for what it is. This window, we've had a couple of very good signings. namely Van der Ven and Morrison. Who's that? And Maddison. I don't know who Morrison is. Van der Ven and Maddison. I look at everything else and go, we've had an absolute stinker. Everything, even down to now, we are linked with Lloyd Kelly, Wout Fayers, Brennan Johnson, right? We have had an absolute stinker. And if anyone wants to, I'll debate this with anyone. If anyone wants to...
Before you do, don't debate the incomings yet, because I want to save the incomings.
Okay, sure. Okay, cool.
The next 15 minutes. Let me get Henry's take on it. On this one, mate. Where do you see this out? Because we're dealing with the outgoings, right? We all know the incomings can't happen until the outgoings happen. Reguilon, we started the conversation with Reguilon. You know, Dave is someone that thinks that he was someone he didn't want to see leave the club. He thinks that Reguilon, whilst nowhere near Udogie, is a better player in that role than Ben Davies. You know, and there's other players that might be leaving, like Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, who, again, there's going to be people that don't want to see Højbjerg leave. It might not be anyone on this panel, but there's going to be a section of the fan base, like Ellie, I know Ellie's in the chat, who absolutely love Højbjerg. But we're in a situation where the only people that are going to leave the club are players that have a value to the club at whatever level. People like Dyer, Ndombele, Sanchez, Tanganga don't really have the value, but they're not really looking to leave. So how do we get to this situation, and what is it that you want to see happen in the next, let's say, 12 hours before we can start hopefully bringing some people in tomorrow afternoon and evening?
Mate, what we should have done, right, is immediately February the 1st, we should be identifying who we want in the summer, right, as our transfer targets. So then we can identify who may or may not be here. As soon as it gets to the start of the window, mate, you foul to prepare, you prepare to foul. It's the way I see it, mate, is you haven't got to be a brain surgeon, rocket science. You haven't got to cure cancer to see that half of our players in our squad are not good enough not under Conte. These are the same players that threw Poch under the bus, threw Jose under the bus, threw Conte under the bus, Delaney. So what's going to change because of Ange's football's better? It comes down to the quality of the player isn't there. If we were a serious football club, if winning on the pitch was the be-all and end of things, we would rip up football contracts. We would rip it up. So see you later. We don't need to have a 20, 25-man squad to play. We could play 40 games this season. If we get a tough round on the FA Cup third round,
entirely possible. Yeah,
we could do a 40-game season. You don't need a 25-man squad to play one game a week. Wolves did it in the Europa League under Nuno with 18 players. Playing one game every 4 days with 18 players. Yeah. Playing better football than they are now, in a better position than they are now.
So you're advocating then for us to just to fire.
Mate, if we're serious, Ndombele has got all the ability in the world. We know that. He can nutmeg a mermaid. He can turn on a sixpence. But the guy doesn't want to be here. He's putting on weight quicker than bloody Gemma Collins. Like, all jokes aside, half of these players, Dyer, Højbjerg, Skip, Sessegnon, Reguilon, Lloris, Rodon. You know, what's happening with Divine? Like, everyone's telling me that he's the next academy player. Keep him here and actually play him in a game. Mate, we are... You failed to prepare.
So would you rather spend tomorrow then stripping down the squad from 30 or whatever's left down to 20 and actually not...
Down to 17, mate. Down to 16. You don't need 25, 28, 35 players when we know the 11's going to be the 11 every single week. Everyone knows our best 11 here.
So you're not even bothered about bringing new players in. You just want to get players out.
No, as much as I want to bring players in, but we can't do anything until we get rid of players in the first place. We can't do anything. We can't bring any player in.
But do you accept that tearing up contracts has financial implications that result in...
But it also has financial implications in letting them just sit there on the bench and do nothing. And do Look at Ndombele. That geezer's on £200,000 a week.
And he's getting that 20 million quid whether you tear it up
Precisely.
or let it
So would you rather... Let me ask you something, Sean. If he's getting the 20 million quid either way, then what's the point in keeping him here?
Because it destroys your cash flow to give him 20 million up front.
Yeah, this Henry Savage, I've heard so many points I've disagreed, like an unbelievable amount of points that I disagree with from you two just now. First of all, yeah, Sava.
Well, let them have it then. Let them have it. Respectfully.
Honestly, it's incomprehensible to me that you would say that a manager has to judge players before he's had an opportunity to train with them. That's illogical. Am I going to be allowed to retort to this? No, hold on. Listen. Cool. He has the opportunity to work with these players and make a judgment on these players after working with them. Why would you have to then tell him he has to make a decision before he's worked with them? That's not how it works. No manager would do that. No manager worth their salt. They'd have preconceived ideas about certain players, like say Pep and Joe Hart. Yeah, but other than that, the rest of the squad gets the opportunity to prove their worth, in my opinion. You can disagree with that, yeah, but the thing is, if Ange is going to be here for a while, yeah, if he's going to be here for 4 years, 5 years plus, yeah, why are you making knee-jerk decisions? Why are you making a decision without evaluating things properly? Let him evaluate it properly. You can put your face all you want, because at the end of the day...
Let me ask you something.
Hang on, Henry. Henry, let me go, Henry, because he's attacked my opinion. I want to...
No. Because the thing is, Sava, it's like, it's just logical to me. Like, the manager should have the opportunity to evaluate the players.
Okay. Can
I just throw something in there?
Hang on.
Wait. I just want to say quickly, just before Savvy comes in. I'm just going to be quick. I think Jay's forgetting that when these managers interview for the jobs, they put their plans forward, who they can use, who they can't use, who fits their system, who doesn't. They put a whole team together and present it to the club. So the club would have known as soon as they interviewed them exactly what he could use.
Why would the club know specifically in that moment before he's had a chance to see these players in training, see these players in drills, see these players in matches? It doesn't make sense to me. You've got this manager for 4 years. Let him make the right decisions with real evidence. Yeah. Like, I appreciate you all want this to happen really quickly. I want this to happen quickly, but
4 years.
Just let him have the chance to evaluate these players.
Okay,
right?
Can I respond?
Okay, yeah. Go on, Saba.
Okay, so first and foremost, right, let's apply your logic here, right? Let's apply your logic that the players that have been here for 5, 6, 7, 8 years and failed every manager, we now need another manager to see that they're not good enough. Okay, let's apply that logic.
That's got nothing to do with my point, though. That's got nothing to do with my point.
Hang on.
If you let me respond. No, Sava, my point specifically...
Wait.
Hold on. Let me make my point clear to Sava before he goes off on a tangent. My point is that the new manager, deserves an opportunity to
I know your point.
With the players.
I got it.
Make that decision as to whether or not he wants
to. That's fine. Okay,
Jay, thanks for that. I understood your point the first time, right? So... if we're going to say, well, it was very easy to understand.
Okay, so why are you talking about 5, 6, 7 years? What's that got to do with my point?
Let's clarify this point.
Okay, I was going to try and get there.
Yeah,
right. Okay, so if we need, if Poch has seen the players, and it's the same players letting us down, Conte has seen the players, same players letting us down. Yeah, Jose's seen the players, the same players letting us down.
Okay.
Conte. Now, we need Postecoglou, another manager, to come in and tell us. Now, let me give a scenario. Right? Let me give you a scenario. If Postecoglou gets sacked with 8 games to go in this season,
okay,
right? Just saying, like Conte did this year, right? Are we then saying next year, right? Next year, the same players that have failed again and again and again and again, that the new manager that comes in, we go, oh, hang on. This manager now needs to also see Davinson Sanchez, Dyer, Tanganga, Rodon, Reguilon, Skip, Højbjerg. No, but Jay, okay, if we do that, hang on. If we do that, then at what point do we go, hang on, this is now Groundhog Day. Okay. These managers, right? They know the way they want to play, right? All of these managers have a set way of playing. We know how Pep Guardiola wants to play. Postecoglou, we know how he wants to play. Arteta will be very different to the way that David Moyes wants to play, right? These managers will know these footballers. There is no way on earth that Postecoglou turns up to Spurs not knowing the skill set of...
Right, but he hasn't necessarily seen them in his system, right? He's never seen Ben.
Hang on. Let me. Okay, but let me. Hang on. Well, yeah. But as managers, they've watched these players and they'll know. They'll know from afar. If Pep Guardiola goes into a team, he'll know from his knowledge, his scouting, from his network, right? The homework he would have done. He will know instantly that guy can play my style.
Maybe.
That guy can't. Hang on. But they'll also know, if we know it's the same players every year that are letting these managers down. We've seen a back four under Conte, one of the best defensive managers in world football, concede 63 goals. If we see it, what on earth does he need to see them again in pre-season?
It's a good question.
To say, actually, they might be able to play.
It's a really good question.
It's
Let me bring in.
madness.
Let me bring in Henry. I'm going to come back to you in a second. I know you want to chime in as well. Let me bring in Jacob on this one, then I'll come to James. Same topic though, right? Is Saba's point salient or is Jay's point salient? Does the manager need to know what he's working with before he can make a decision? Is the point? That's the point he made after the game. He was trying to defend himself. A lot of Tottenham fans were like, "This is all on the manager." The manager stood by himself. Postecoglou said, "No, I need to see it. How can I judge them if I haven't seen it?" Jacob, I'll start with you, and I'll go to James, and then I'll come to Henry to give his rebuttal to Jay's point as well.
Well, my sentiment has always been the same. I don't blame Ange for what he did versus Fulham. I don't think that it's his fault. He was given crayons and asked to paint Pablo Picasso on the first year. That's just my opinion. Now, when it comes to the argument of we know these players, we've seen them time and time again, I would ask what system? And then based on that answer, I think that would tell you why Ange Postecoglou still played him, in my opinion. When it comes down to the Ange thing, I just really how can we keep blaming the managers? Time and time again, we all know it's the players. I just don't understand why it's always the manager's fault that he plays the players. Because if you think about it, whether he knows that they work in his system or not, he has now the proof to say, hey, this is why Dyer doesn't play, because look at the game footage at Barcelona. That's why Jed Spence doesn't play. Look at the game footage versus Barcelona. I think the point resonates because Dane Scarlett being the first substitution at 45 minutes, he was giving everyone a piece of the pie to say, hey, how much you want to eat? That's my opinion. And
can I ask you a question, Jacob? Sorry, just really quickly. I'd just like to chuck in a little point there. Do you know what, right? I've said the same thing about this. I expected there would be 3 or 4 changes, right? And I wouldn't have blamed him. Keep a nucleus of your team. At least have a captain in there. You've made 3 appointments as captain and then not picked one of them, which is just a bonkers decision that no one can surely defend. But surely keep your nucleus of the team and make 3 or 4 changes. But if he did what he did, Jacob, which he did, he made 9 changes. When you get to half time and you've seen how disgustingly bad that first half was, that is when, as a manager, you go, okay, that's not worked. That was disgusting. We were terrible. Now I need to make 3 or 4 changes. I need to get Basuma back in there. I need to get Sonny on the pitch. I need to get Romero on. I need to get Sarr or Maddison, whoever it is. And you stem that flow. You get those players in and go, right, I've seen now what I need to see. That 45 minutes was horrible. You make a decision. His decision then to bring on Dane Scarlett as the only sub and then go to a 4-4-2 and throw away one of the only 2 competitions we can win. Did that not ring alarm bells a little bit, Jacob, that he didn't even try to...
Wait, guys. Hold up.
It's game 4, man. We're not doing alarm bells here, man.
Jay, hold up.
Jay, it's a competition we can win.
Stop, guys. Stop.
It's a competition we can win. That's the alarm bells.
There's 7 people in the panel. I need to get everyone in, so let's stick to one topic at a time before we get redirected. Jacob, finish your point. You can answer Saba's question directly, and then I'm going to come to James to get his take, maybe on the same question, unless we go in a different direction with a redirect. And then I'm going to come to Henry. Then we've got a flow, guys. We've got to give everyone a chance to speak.
No, I mean, I agree with Sava. Did I like what I saw in the first 45 minutes? Of course I did not. And I couldn't imagine that any of the shots that they showed Ange Postecoglou, he didn't look too happy either. I mean, again, when we talk about he should have made 4 subs, 6 subs, 10 subs, 11 subs, really, we're all playing football manager at this point and now saying we're more qualified to make that call over a guy who got the job. In my opinion, I just think he's going to do what he's going to do. And if we, for me, this is just me personally. I've gone on my platform and said, I trust Ange Postecoglou. So if I sit here and say, I don't trust the fact that he made 9 changes, which by the way, didn't lose the match in 90 minutes. They drew, lost on penalties. So I just feel like he didn't even, there was a narrative too. I'm not saying anyone here has said this, but there was a narrative that he threw it away because of the lineup. As soon as the lineup came out, that was thrown away. He didn't believe that, and I don't think he did either. And his post-game comments pretty much say the same thing. So when it comes to after 45 minutes at halftime, would I make changes? I mean, we've seen it when we're going into halftime. I think, what was it, Brentford? We weren't too happy with the way we were looking, and we came out and we were firing. I think the hope was that he could go in there, give these guys the true test. I'm not talking about Singapore Sea City Sailors during hurricane season. I'm talking about actual Premier League competition when your back's against the wall, do or die, sink or swim. Are you going to be able to keep afloat? That's what I think the question was being asked by Ange and his actions. That's just my opinion.
James, let me just pause for 1 second, buddy. Let me just call out. I don't know how this has happened, but Ian Cook has become a member tonight the first time, and then half an hour later he's become a member for a second time. I don't know how that's worked, but I'm guessing you started off. I think you might have started off as a puppy and you've become a pony. You have evolved, my grasshopper. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I've got 2 super chats. One from Blaine Dev that I'm going to hold up on Blaine Dev because when we move into the incomings, this is the opening question. And then Reese Hubbard is saying the fact still remains after Ange worked with all the players for 3 to 4 weeks. We've had 4 to 5 weeks to tell his unpicked players to find new clubs. Reese, I really appreciate this. I'm going to give this one to James, but I'm actually going to let James, first and foremost, we got to get back to the initial the question around whether or not I don't know. The initial conversation, I guess, has merged into now whether or not Ange Postecoglou was right with his. Do we trust Ange? Is basically what we're talking about, right?
I think
with his decision making.
I think on Tuesday, I can't really defend a lot of what Ange did. I mean, starting with 9 changes in a game that is arguably as important as the Premier League right now.
Important to who, though?
To Tottenham. We haven't won a trophy for 16 years.
But you're Ange Postecoglou. Your job doesn't ride on how far you make it in a cup. Your job rides on how well you perform in the league. So if I'm looking at it and my employer's saying you got to do X, Y, and Z, and one of those is not included, I know where my priorities are.
I hear you, Jacob. Let James get his point out there, buddy. Let's go.
I would say, from my point of view, as a fan that's seen 1 trophy in my lifetime, which is over half my lifetime ago, a Carling Cup it's a Carabao Cup now. We have to take it seriously. We have no Europe. As we've been mentioning, we have 40 games this year, probably. That's no reason to be resting players. We've got Burnley at the weekend, but that's 4 or 5 days away. Why did we need to make 9 changes? And even when it went, I don't know if you guys watched the first half, but it was so bad. Like one of the worst first halves of Tottenham football I've seen in probably probably since Conte. So we're talking 7-8 months ago. It was shocking. I think Fulham outplayed us with their B team. I mean, how embarrassing is that? So from that point onwards, at half time, do you not go, fucking hell, we need to bring on Maddison here. We need to probably put on Son, even though he's had stinkers recently. But why did we only bring on Dane Scarlett and then leave Maddison till the 70 whatever minute? It was all too little too late. And it's not a surprise that some of these players that played the first half are so bad when we've seen just years and years of just absolute shoddy play. I mean, Ben Davies, for example, I know I mentioned him before the rest of you guys came in, but I mean, how is he captain? How have we got to the point in 2023 where Ben Davies is Tottenham captain? That is embarrassing on its own. I mean, and like Saba said, the 3 captains that were named, the 2 vice captains, Maddison and Romero, surely you've got to start one of them if you're not starting Son. Start Son on the bench, fine. What about playing Romero at the back or playing Maddison in the midfield? It was just no leadership. Ben Davies is like a lost lamb that doesn't know where his feet is. It's embarrassing. And I'm not just singling out Ben Davies, by the way. Skip was awful. Absolutely horrendous. We had players that literally looked worse than Fulham's B team, and they were playing under Antonio Conte. I mean, To an
So
extent,
so you are saying that you've like Ange screwed up massively. So therefore,
he did.
we're on the point where people that were saying trust in Ange, believe in Ange, trust the process. Are we not
Sure,
quite there yet?
can I say one thing, Sean?
These are two separate conversations, though.
Can I
That's
say
two
one thing on
separate
Ange?
conversations, surely.
Well, so, yeah,
Paddy-
let Henry bring it in. We'll go from
Paddy
there.
Hartnett
Now
just
I've got
said
everyone involved. Now we can go wild. If anyone wants to argue, we can argue. It's all good.
Just quickly, Paddy
I
Hartnett
love
said it.
you,
I was about to say it. In Ange's 2-year reign at Celtic, where he won 5 or 6 trophies, in all the games he played, he only ever made a maximum of 4 changes. Now, domestic success at Celtic is on a much higher priority list than it is at Tottenham, because this ownership clearly prioritised the Champions League over the cups. There is no way Ange Postecoglou, after watching these players for 7 weeks, playing training matches, playing matches against Barcelona,
Training don't
playing
count,
matches
man.
against
Come
Bournemouth,
on.
he knows his best
Training
11.
doesn't count.
It does count.
No,
I'm saying when you're saying
Jacob
it-
said it.
Hang on, let me finish.
Okay.
How does
Madness.
Johan Cruyff, Pep, Jose, Conte, Arteta, all these managers get across their tactics? It's on the training ground. So you learn a system. You don't learn it in games. You implement it in games.
So are
You learn a system.
you
My man AI said we talking about
Are
practice.
you insinuating
I'm
that
asking the
somebody
same question.
potentially- Are you insinuating that someone potentially could learn the system in training and ergo could be of value, even though you may not think they're of value in the initial point? Out of curiosity.
No, I'm what I'm saying to you, right, is
Okay,
if you're in a classroom, right, before you go to exam, where do you learn about what's going to be in the exam? You learn it in the classroom. You don't learn about it in the exam, do you? You learn about how to play a system on the training pitch. It's 100%.
But like Sava says, let's talk about
Ange's fault.
in football terms. Let's not talk about it's not a classroom. This is on the pitch. This is
No, but the classroom's
competition
the same
level.
as the
When you're
training
training
pitch. It's
against
not
Ashley
practice.
Phillips, it's a little bit different than when you're playing against a Premier League side, is
think-
it not? So I would
Okay,
argue
but
that
at
you
the
can
same
look good in
time-
training.
at
You
the
can
same
look
time,
good
Jacob,
versus Singapore
At the
Sailors.
same time, we haven't won an FA Cup in 32 years. We're on our second longest trophy drought in our club's history.
Yeah.
Right? The League Cup, Tottenham and Chelsea should give everything they've got, because everyone else, the big clubs, are in West Ham are in the Europa League. Brighton are in the Europa League. We should go guns blazing for the League Cup. But a big portion of our fan base will go, but it's only the Mickey Mouse Cup. And then a big portion of our fan base belittle West Ham winning the Conference League. Ange has never made more than 4 changes during his reign at Celtic. So why does he make 9? It's disrespectful to Fulham. It's disrespectful.
Well, why?
to
Explain
Chelsea.
it to me. Why is it? Because a lot of people are sitting there
It's
saying
complete
it's
naivety, mate.
Daniel Levy's influence.
Well,
So
it's
I
Daniel Levy.
want
It's
to bang
nothing
my
to
head
do with
against
Dan-
the wall.
If anyone thinks that that's Daniel Levy, you're a complete and utter idiot.
Okay.
I think there's one point we're missing, and I think Antonio Conte said it. Some of these guys don't want to play under pressure. Some of these guys played well in preseason. In training, they very well could be doing the basics. But when it comes to playing under pressure, they cannot do it. There's a reason why we go out of cup games away from home the majority of the time. There's a reason why our away form in the league last year stank, because they can't play under that environment. They can't play under that pressure. Ange Postecoglou Ollie Skip scored 2 against Barcelona. He gave him a chance against Fulham. And he played absolute crap when the pressure's on, when there's something on the line. And I think that's one thing that we overlook, what Conte said, whether we like Conte as a manager or not. These players cannot play under pressure, some of them. So that's simple.
So can I add a point to that, Dave? Listen, I just want to add a point. First of all, I think we've got to stop making 3 or 4 different conversations into the same conversation. Do I trust Ange in the league with his best 11 and his way of playing football? For sure. Right? If everyone remembers, everyone in here, hopefully that's seen me, will know when other people were doubting Henry, the first day we were linked with Postecoglou and everyone was giving it, I was the one going, this guy's a top manager. This guy's a top manager. He'll be brilliant. He'll be a breath of fresh air. Right? And I think you all know I've said that.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think I'd check the tape.
Jesus. Right? So I've got,
I don't know anyone. I don't know if
Yeah,
anybody was like
Right, so I've got-
miracle about Postecoglou.
Henry,
Oh,
wasn't I?
baby.
Yeah,
Hold up a little bit
in
on
Sava's
that.
defence, he was
In
probably the
Sava's
first
defence,
person
Sava
all
was
over
one
it.
of the ones saying, listen, I like what I've seen. I like when I've gone and done my research on this guy. I'm really happy with this guy, right? I love his philosophy. I like him as a man manager. I've got no problem with Ange Postecoglou and no problem with the 11 that we've got. His first 11, there's no problem there. My problem is this.
Other than Richarlison.
Oh, God, don't get me started on
I've got our
Richarlison.
first 10. Our first 10.
You trust him up to the point that you don't trust him.
No, hang on. No, listen, you need to calm down. That's not what I've said.
I'm listening to what you said. I'm listening to.
No, let me finish. Jay, stop doing this.
No, listen. I enjoy the Savage show. I'm just sitting on the sidelines.
There's no Savage show. It's mine. I'm just having
a couple of points every so often. I just have to jump up and listen and say.
But hang on, I've not even been able to. I've not even been able to make my point.
Oh no,
Sean, you got a good shoulders. I've got to be able to make my point, right? Because this is.
You've got the floor, mate.
I'm trying to, but this guy in the middle keeps jumping in.
Say your point.
Right, trying to make my point. In the league, picking that team, him as a manager, brilliant. But that doesn't mean a manager can't be called out, whether you like them or not. Doesn't mean they can't be called out when they get something terribly wrong. Right? This is the difference. Every time now, right? Like I've been Ange's biggest supporter all summer, battling people going, Jay, stop this, dude. This is. Stop, mate. You're annoying me now.
I'm annoying you in what way? In what way, Sava?
Shay,
what way am I annoying you, Sava?
Right. I've been Ange Postecoglou's biggest supporter all summer.
You haven't, because I've been his biggest supporter, so it's okay.
So it's a trophy now to be his biggest supporter.
Go on, carry on, Sava. Sorry, that's just the reason I pulled the face, because I've been his biggest supporter.
Oh, good God! Let me get my point. Oh, whatever, mate. Listen, I'm trying to...
Just the right direction. Continue, Sava. Sorry. I'll go on mute. I'm going on mute.
Thank God. Right. So my point here is, right, I've defended this guy all summer. I loved what he's done previously. I went and watched all his videos about what he implemented when he was in Japan, in Australia, at Celtic. His team talks, what he did, and I really liked him. And I was beating that drum, and I was saying to Henry, don't worry, mate, listen, this guy's going to be good. In our group chats, saying this, that, the other. But that doesn't mean, because I call him out for getting the League Cup horribly wrong, that now I don't trust him. My point was this. He got it wrong, right? That team he picked was horrible, right? As James said above, right? Then when you get to half time, you realize you've got it horribly wrong, right? You make changes. Now, you can say, whoever said, we got it, like Jacob said, we weren't that great in the first half against Brentford and came out guns blazing. Yeah, but that was the first 11.
The hope is that they could do that as well. That's the hope.
Well, the hope surely from the way they played in the first half.
From an Ange perspective is all I've tried to shine the light on. From an Ange perspective.
I understand this. But the point is this, guys. The point is this. We are a football team that have not won a trophy for 15, going on 16 years now. We are a club that aren't even in European football, right? We've not got a game, like James said, we've not got a game for 4 to 5 days after the Burnley game. And then after the Burnley game, you've got international 2 weeks. The feel-good factor was there. 3 brilliant games. Brentford, Man United, Bournemouth. We're on a roll by this point. We've got 7 points from 9. The energy, the belief, the fans are up for it. Why disrupt that? Go and beat Fulham with your first team. Then go and beat Burnley. All of a sudden, we're top of the league, through to the next round of the cup, and everybody's feeling coming back from international week is we can't wait to get going. Now, we're not in Europe. So if we don't take the cup seriously, what are we doing? Do we really want to be that team that use the second? Do we want to be the team that use the second round of the League Cup? Yeah,
that's on trial, right? That's why this whole thing.
Sure, that's my point.
It doesn't mean you have
to love him.
Exactly right. That's the point.
I can still love him and say he got it wrong.
Exactly. Okay, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Call a spade.
That's all I've said. But the problem is, when you call out somebody, what you get is, oh, you don't like him anymore. No. I think he's a great manager. But he needs that 11 to play his way. And now what I'm hoping from all of this is he's learned, and we don't see those sort of changes ever again.
He's trying to build those, Sava. That's my time. Sorry, Sean.
Well, listen. Let me just pivot for a second. There's a couple of super chats I do need to get to, and then we can move the conversation on for the last sort of 20 minutes, 25 minutes. First of all, I've said hello to Ian Cook. I've got Callum Roche in the house. Big up, Callum. United have financial fair play, and Fulham want Amrabat. if we were big boys, we'd buy him, sell sell Pierre, help Højbjerg to Fulham, and laugh at United. I'm going to come, Dave. I'm going to let you answer this one, mate. We are going to move the conversation now towards incomings, right? Let's assume that the outgoings will be what they'll be. I'm not sure how much we got through that conversation without distractions, but the outgoings are where we are. Incomings now is the pivot. There's 4 or 5 super chats to talk about this. So let's start with Amrabat. Is there any chance in Callum's mind we can go for Amrabat and disrupt United's play and focus, or are we in dream world with that sort of scenario? You're on mute, mate. Sloppy.
Another amateur mistake from me. Sorry, Shawnee. Look, we see how long it takes us to get deals done. Someone like Amrabat, a big deal like that, where you're going to have interest from other clubs, we ain't getting that done in the space of 24 hours. Nowhere near it. As much as I would love him, I mean, the guy was amazing in the Euros. I watched him in the Europa Conference League final. The guy was on his knees chasing after people to try and get the ball back. You know, I absolutely love everything about him, Shawnee, but we ain't getting them, sadly. It's just not. I'm not going to sit here and delude myself, even though some people, like to think I am deluded. Maybe I am on times, but look, I ain't deluded on this one. We just ain't getting someone like Amrabat in the door before the window closes. Forget about it.
No. Listen, there's so much value that's been had elsewhere from Tottenham this year. Amrabat's one of them. Is going to end up going on pittance. Bakayoko, we saw anyone that watched the Rangers game last night saw how amazing that kid is. He's going to Brentford. He's going to be an absolute world-class player in a few years, in my opinion, if he carries on his trajectory. Appreciate the super chat, Callum. To Henry, I want to ask you this from Blaine Dev. I've got your other Blaine Dev. I've got your other super chat. I'm going to bring it up when we pivot the panel, but I'm going to go through some of these other super chats individually. Henry, news, Fulham have offered 25 plus add-ons for Højbjerg, but they're also bidding for Amrabat. Come from Simon Jones at the Mail. I mean, listen, we know how you feel about Mail.
Take it. If that's legit, take it. Cash in.
Yeah. Do you trust Simon Jones than you trust Mockers?
I don't trust any reporter, mate. But if it is legit, unless it's Romano, 25 million quid, buy it. Take it
for Højbjerg.
Yeah.
You think that's value? 25 value for money, really?
Because otherwise, he'll go another year and he'll have 1 year left in his contract, and he'll run down his contract and go on a free.
Yep. So you got to sell players with two. You got to sell players with 2+ years. Otherwise, we're going to go through the same.
Mate, we're one of the wide footballing clubs in the world at selling players. If there's an offer on the table for Højbjerg, take it. Does he start for us? No. Is he going to come on for 15 minutes end of a game? Maybe. Yeah. Mate, there's other players. We've got. Who would you
rather be at the club on the bench though? Because we talk about the lack of depth.
Yeah, but the lack of depth. Sean, we're playing one game a week. Unless we get a major injury, he's never going to play.
Right.
What I will say is that we are losing
depth. Right. Everyone moans about the lack of depth. He is depth.
I'd tell him 25 million plus add-ons. Let's say that's 30 million, 32 million quid. Hypothetically, you'd have to take surely.
Well, 32 is not 25, is it?
No, but I don't know what the add-ons is. I don't know what the add-ons is. No, normally the add-ons...
Either way, do you sell it if you can't replace it? If he goes to Fulham tonight, are you happy for him
I personally would sell, yeah.
You'd sell. So Skippy's your guy then. Skippy's the go-to.
Well, we got Benson Core to come back as well.
Yeah, in a month.
That's true.
We are losing Sarr and Basuma, though, to the AFCON at the turn of next year.
Well, if that's the case, go in the first day of January, go and buy a central midfielder.
Bang. Act like a proper club, yeah? Act like a
footballing club. Yeah. Not a club that celebrates a go-kart track.
Henry, to back up your point.
The same people that always, and there's no one on this panel that do this, but there's certain people that I know that are in WhatsApp groups with me. They always bang on about the strength in depth that we have, that we don't have, that will probably be waxing lyrical about getting this done. And then the second that we get it done, if we can't bring in a central mid, because we ain't linked with any central midfielders right now, if we can't get
Gallagher,
lack of depth.
Put that 25 million quid down on Gallagher straight away. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, I'll take Gallagher. Yes, if there's a swap season
I'll take Gallagher over Højbjerg every day of the week.
I think Gallagher is so much better than fans rate.
Yeah. That's the thing. If you are selling a centre midfielder, you have to bring one in. You can't leave yourself short come January, February, because if you do, it'll have a consequence losing someone like Basuma out of the first team, losing someone like Papamata Sarr out of the first team.
Isn't the problem, Dave? I think with most clubs.
before you ask the question, Jay wanted to say something.
Sorry.
So just one thing, right? Because people have been talking a little bit about the incomings and the transfers, and I have a rule. And my rule is if the majority of the Spurs fan base doesn't like the transfer, it's probably going to be a good one. Yeah. And that rule has served me pretty well over the last few windows and the last few transfers. So to me, the incomings, if we bring in Johnson, we bring in Lloyd Kelly, we bring in Gallagher. Yeah. To me, these are great signings. Yeah. Like the great signings. See, Salvi, you're laughing.
I love it. Sorry. Great.
I knew that one would like a little touch paper over it.
If you don't mind, mate. Listen, Jay, just 1 second. If you don't mind, let me just press pause. I'll come to you first.
Okay.
TV's about.
Sorry. Great. Just the word "great" was used
on that particular conversation. I just need to. You know what? Actually, because my TV's about to turn off. Sorry, Jay. Carry on, mate.
Okay. No. So my thing is that okay. So far, let's look at the data-driven signings that have come in recently. So we're looking at Vicario. We're looking at Van der Ven. We're looking at Madison. So let's look at the players that we're going to bring in on top, right? So far, in terms of these players, they've fitted what we tried to do, and they've settled into the side very quickly. So if the data and the manager tells me that Johnson, Gallagher, and Lloyd Kelly are next, yeah, I believe in what they're trying to say. I believe in it very highly if they're willing to go to 40 to 50 million for Brennan Johnson. Yeah. So if somebody tells me, well, I don't really fancy the player, I don't really like the player, I don't really think the player is very good, I'll be like, well, fair enough. But Ange, the data team, the transfer team deserve.
Can I ask you something? Can I ask you something, Jay?
Right?
If that was the case, then why didn't we go and get those 3 players at the beginning of the window?
Bang on.
Which
Panic.
players? Which
Panic.
players? As in
like Johnson, Kelly, and Gallagher.
Well, to me personally, my theory on that is certain transfers are opportunistic, but that doesn't make them bad. So, for example, Bizuma that we bought for 25 million was an opportunistic signing, but it was a very good one. Yeah,
because we signed him near the start of the window, not near the end.
Yeah, but still, if Bizuma had 2-3 years on his contract, would we have signed him? Probably not. We wouldn't have been able to afford
Yes, because he's a great player.
So what I'm saying is Madison, 1 year left on his contract, £40 million. To be fair, Madison's a bad example because we probably wanted him last season, but Conte didn't want to go for it. But anyway, I'm saying that certain opportunities present itself. We've liked Gallagher for a while. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Chelsea were potentially going to sell him, and then they weren't going to sell him. Then they don't want to sell him. Now they might consider it on deadline day. Brennan Johnson, it's an opportunistic signing. People want the Ezes. They want the Elises.
But what does Johnson, other than pace,
go on?
Give me 3 things Johnson's good at other than pace.
So first and foremost, have you seen in our games sometimes when Kulu gets put through, but he doesn't have the pace to get away from the defender? Yeah?
Right.
Immediately, I can see how Johnson can impact that. In terms of taking your man on the outside, yeah? Johnson can go in and he can go out. Kulu only ever goes in at the moment. So 2, you now have stylistically, yeah, another avenue. 3, in terms of the way that we want to do cutbacks, passing, getting into the final thirds, yeah, Johnson is one of the fastest players in the league. Yeah, he operates take-ons at a Foden level. Yeah, so for example, not saying he's as good as Foden and everything, but in terms of the amount of times Phil Foden will take on his man in a game, Brennan Johnson will take on his man approximately the same amount. You then factor in, for me, team tax, the quality of side he's playing in, how much ball Nottingham Forest get versus how much ball he's going to get at Tottenham, his potential from a coaching point of view, and the fact, and this is just a weird one for me, that his dad was a Nottingham Forest legend. Yeah, so he would have had a lot of pressure on him to make it through his career and get to that level. So
okay, but at £50 million,
I mean, you asked me for 3 things.
I get that, but those 3 things value £50 million.
I value him. If Ange says that this is my number 1 attacking choice,
it's not. It's not. Can we be honest? Can we be really honest? If it's his number 1 choice, okay.
Never.
Right. If it's his number 1 choice, as Henry said, a bid hasn't. There's 24 hours and 4 minutes of the window left.
Yep.
If a player is a manager's number one choice, you are not waiting till 24 hours and 4 minutes left, right? If he is your number one choice, I just want to ask one question to the panel.
Isn't it more like a little bit kind of a fluid kind of conversation where where Ange, Gabonini, Levy, all the stakeholders that are making those decisions get together, Paratici, whatever, and they kind of say,
Sean, look at Van der Ven.
Look, we can't put all of our eggs in one basket. Bayern Munich have got the audacity to do it. So be it. Fair enough. Tottenham maybe don't work that way. Let's figure out 6 or 7, 8, 10, 12. Who knows what the shortlist is? Let's figure out what those names look like that suit the system. And then let's go and have conversations and spin some plates and juggle some balls. And then eventually you come down to a situation where you go, well, you know what? Those players have already gone somewhere else. All right, fair enough. We're still waiting to get players out the door. Who of the players that are left that we've had initial conversations with that are somewhat malleable, somewhat amenable to the idea of a transfer that haven't already had a transfer done whilst we're waiting to get rid of the Ndombele's and the Sanchez and the Tangas and all that stuff. And then you kind of go, where are we left? And of all of it, so it's not around the first choice, but was he on the short list? I think it's more fair conversation.
He may well have been on the short list for sure. But I just want to ask a question here, right? I feel like at the moment, like our fans, I feel like a lot of us, we're talking like we're Crystal Palace. I feel like we're talking like we're a real team that are down in the bottom half that are trying to make it to mid-table, putting in names like Kelly and Brennan Johnson. These are okay. These are okay footballers. But let's be honest, we're Tottenham Hotspur. We've got one of the biggest revenues in world football, right? We moved stadium because we were told we wanted to compete. We've now bringing in this revenue, and then we're now getting fans that want to defend the signings of Brennan Johnson and Lloyd Kelly, right? That's fine. Okay, cool.
So we're talking about Lloyd Kelly then.
Hang on. I'm just putting them two into the same basket, right? If we can't see that this is last 48-hour panic, I don't know what will make people think that.
Let me ask James.
Hang on, I haven't finished.
Yeah, finish your point. Sorry. No, Sava, finish your point.
I just don't understand at what stage in the last few years our fans got to this standard of Brennan Johnson, great player, Lloyd Kelly, great player, Gallagher. I don't mind. I don't mind. I don't think he's amazing. I don't mind him. These are signings that if I woke up tomorrow, if I call my man Dave, right, I'll just pick in anyone. If I rang up Dave, Irish Hotspur tomorrow, and he didn't know that we were linked with these players, right? Dave, if I phoned you up and said, Dave, Palace have signed Brennan Johnson and Lloyd Kelly, you wouldn't be surprised, would you?
No, not really.
At their level. If I said to you, Spurs have signed Lloyd Kelly from Bournemouth and Brennan Johnson, you'd be disappointed, right?
I hear the point, Sat. I hear the point, but we haven't got long left, so I want to try and get everyone still involved in the conversation. James,
I do need to bounce. I've had a bit of a moment in the living room. You can probably read it in the chat, but I'll thanks for having me on, mate. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, thanks, Henry, mate. I appreciate you, mate. I'm going to put the links out in a second. I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for that, Henry. James.
Hello.
Sava's got a point, right? I think the point is the players we are linked with in Sava's world are not good enough. They're not achieving ambition. No, I'm saying in your world, in your mind, in your opinion, right? Not you understand what I'm saying. In Sava's head, they are not good enough, and we're trying to figure out if what's in Sava's mind is shared across the fan base. I agree with Sava. I got no idea who this Lloyd Kelly is. I pride myself in understanding a lot about players that we're linked with. I go and research them, and I look who the hell is this guy?
I'll tell you who he is.
Sure. Can I just add?
Okay.
Sean, I was
first,
just going
and then
to say,
Dave, and then Jacob. Go on.
Sean, I was just going to say, I'll tell you who Lloyd Kelly is. I don't know much about him, but he's the guy that lunged in the Bournemouth game and wiped out Richarlison on the wing.
Yeah.
And the stupid challenge. In terms of how we're linked with Lloyd Kelly, it's crazy. I mean,
well, I don't know him. Of course, I know him. I just mean I don't know why we're linked with him. It's so far. He's such a random player to be linked with. It doesn't make sense to me.
But like, surely we've gone for other defenders, left backs, centre backs, and clearly failed with getting them through. That's why we've got to this stage. And I mean, if people don't understand that, I mean, it's lastminute.com. I mean, I went on a rant earlier, didn't I, Sean, about why are we 31st of August and we're still talking about maybe bringing in 3 signings. Number one, that's not realistic. We're not going to bring in 3 signings tomorrow. I guarantee it. I could bet against anyone here. We're not getting in 3 signings tomorrow. 100%. We might get 1 or 2. But
I'll bet you a tenner for charity that we get three signings in.
You think we'll get 3 signings tomorrow?
I think we'll get 3 signings in tomorrow.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
Let's see. Like £10. Loser pays to charity.
Yeah, fine.
I'm going to bet you a chicken sandwich, James.
Can I just make a point on the likes of Brennan Johnson and that, but just before we move on from the conversation? I think, look, yeah, you can sit there and question the quality, right? That's up for debate. But this is something I've said for a long time. We've got some of the worst homegrown quota players, in the Premier League in our squad, and we have to update them. We have to refresh them. We have to get a new core of sort of homegrown players that qualify on the, Premier League selection and stuff like that. And we do have to upgrade that if we want to keep, a large 25-man squad. And, we whether we agree with the price that some of these players are being quoted, we have to, some point we have to wrestle with that and accept, we're not going to buy some of England's best players. We ain't going to spend that sort of money. So you're going down to that tier and you're trying to buy players that you think will be future England players. And that's where we're at. And I think the club look at someone like, Brennan Johnson's Welsh anyway, but I think the club look at homegrown sort of players in that regard, knowing that they ain't going to buy the best players out there that qualify for that. And we have to understand that, for me, I think if you see 2 signings tomorrow, there'll be players that qualify for the homegrown quota. We've got the worst selection out, and that's why we're looking at these sort of players.
But should that mean that we exchange quality just for their nationality? Like surely the club, this goes back to what I said right at the beginning. There's no plan. When people keep telling me that we've got a plan, there's a good plan. If we had a plan, this wouldn't be happening with 24 hours to go. If we had a plan, we wouldn't be buying players purely because they're British rather than what's best for the actual team. Like these are you average footballers, right?
Sava, every squad has a core of players that meet the squad registration. We have to meet.
Of course, mate. I hear you. I'm not, Dave. I agree with you, mate. Yeah. But the fact that we've let it get to now the last 23 hours of the window, right? And we're going, well, they're going to be signed because of their nationality, as opposed to what actually fits the team. I'm not going to hear anyone tell me these were the first choice targets. This is absolutely crazy. And if the first choice targets are Lloyd Kelly and Brennan Johnson, then I want to know why we moved stadium. What's the point? And 2, what is the ambition of the club? If these are the first choice targets,
it's not. It's because we left it late.
There you go, Dan. That's what I said. We've left it late. We're panicking. Can
I just really quickly, because Jacob needs to go, but I really want to just say, when Arsenal built their framework for the team that they have now, with players like Ramsdale and White and Gabriel and players like that, of that ilk, of that level, and I remember people saying 50 million for Ben White, what they doing? And he turns into one of the best right backs in the league. I'm going to turn around and say that the data guys have more information than us.
100% they do. Of course they do.
If they say Brennan Johnson, 50 million, roll the dice, I 100% believe he's going to be a massive success. Because
the data only happened in the last 24 hours.
No, Jay, to your point, mate, I actually agree with you, mate. Like, I personally didn't like when the whole Brennan Johnson story broke. It happened as I was taking my dog out for a walk. So I was one of the first guys to put the data up around him, and I was like, "This guy is rubbish. I've seen him. He's useless. The data supports it. I don't get it. Makes no sense. I'm anti. And then as the time's gone on, I thought about it, and I've spoken to Nottingham Forest fans, and obviously to your point, Jay, we are allegedly now working to a data model, and I've softened my approach on him. If Ange Postecoglou wants him, if Tottenham have identified him, and to the tune that these people that I really do admire their opinions, these Nottingham Forest friends of mine, these fans that are friends of mine, they do understand football, they've said everything that's been asked of Brennan Johnson in this system, he has done. Like, the only reason you haven't seen him do this is because he hasn't been asked to do it. in a certain system. He's got all of this. He's got all of the tools to be able to do it. He just isn't asked to do X, Y, and Z. But if he is, he's adaptable, and it makes a good point. And so I'm actually with you, Jay. Like I'm nowhere near as staunchly against the Brennan Johnson transfer as I was 10 days ago. Put it that way, or a week ago.
For me, this is why when it comes to Lloyd Kelly, it doesn't matter if it's Jim Carrey's character from Dumb and Dumber. I'm fine with Lloyd coming in. I'm fine with Brennan Johnson coming in. I just need new blood. I don't even care at this point. And I guess, you know, what is water to a dehydrated man in the desert? Well, as someone who personally lives in the desert, I'm telling you right now, Brennan Johnson on the right-hand side with that pace brings me more hope than thinking about Kulusevski on the right-hand side with just power and no pace. And I agree with Jay to the sense of, you know, he can offer us something that Kulusevski cannot on the right-hand side. Now, is he the first choice? He may be the first choice at this juncture, but I would say James Maddison was a first choice. David Raya was a first choice before I start saying Brennan Johnson was the first choice. So maybe at this juncture, yes, he is the first choice. And I don't think that's as embarrassing as saying he was our first choice at the beginning of the window and we failed to get him. We were never linked with this guy until the past, week or two. So I'm not overly concerned. I think the price tag is a little hefty. It was obvious that we were shopping players to them because it came out that Tanguy and Ndombele said, no, I don't believe in what Nottingham Forest are doing. Then it came out Davinson Sanchez didn't want to go to Nottingham Forest. So it's not like I don't think that we haven't tried to bring down the price, but yeah, I'm not upset as long as we can get some outgoings. And it sucks that we're at this juncture. And I know we don't want to talk about the whole ripping up contracts, but again, I go back to what I was told by a alleged, supposedly reliable source that we are ripping up contracts for a quote ginormous rebuild. Now I know in a rebuild you don't immediately get everybody out immediately, and you don't immediately bring in all your top 1, 2, and 3 prospects at every position. But I think with that Fulham match, he showed that look, I can't build this up if I don't have something to build it from. And I think that there's still a lot of hope for me. I mean, I'm not trying to be a positive Nancy or whatever they call, I don't know, the people in the chat want to call people who are
that's a
trying to be
negative
positive.
Nancy and it's a positive Pete.
Positive Peter, yeah. I mean, Peter Pan, all he had was hope and belief, right? And that's how he flew around London.
I just feel like we don't support Tottenham Hotspur anymore. I feel like honestly,
I support Tottenham Hotspur. I got him on my wall.
No, I didn't say that. No, that's not what I meant. I meant like our literally our ambitions are so low now with the players we're being linked with and fans hyping them up.
To you, Sava, right? To you.
Okay, because Jay, do you know what? Being this old and seeing the club operate the way it has for so many years, I've had this conversation about so many of these players that never work out.
Okay.
Yeah. When this doesn't work out again, because we're buying in average footballers.
They're not average footballers. They're not. They're
not average footballers. They might not be of a certain...
Sorry, so Lloyd Kelly's not an average defender now. Lloyd Kelly is not an average defender.
I don't even know, to be honest, Sav. I've got no idea. I feel ignorant on that.
Sav, the thing is that you...
I don't know what's happened to this fan base. I genuinely don't know what's happened to it.
You've decided...
Any name over Dyer's where my mood is at.
You've decided in your head that these players aren't good enough and they're not of the ilk that you're looking for.
I haven't just...
To me, these players are high ceiling players who can fit in the system. That's all I see from these players. And I'm
Saba, you can't. If Jay is saying that and you're saying said who, then you have to accept him saying to you when you say they're bang average footballers, him saying to you. So
okay, but you know when we use the word ceiling, I think this is a word that seems to have come into football in the last 5 years more than anything. I hear this about so many players that they've got.
It's a word for potential, isn't it?
I understand what the word means, right? Right. We keep doing this, right? I've heard this about so many players that this club have bought in the last 10, 15, 20 years. They've got a ceiling. I'm sorry. If we're watching Lloyd Kelly and Brennan Johnson and people are going, that is what we want to build around, cool. I've got no problem if those fans want that. I think Brennan Johnson will be okay.
When these players do a great job, and all the negativity that you put out before that.
No, hang on.
You're just gonna be like, "Come on, you Spurs," because I know how fans like you work.
No, you don't. You don't.
Jay, you don't. Now because 10 years ago, some kids flopped.
Jay, no, you don't know how fans like me act.
That means nothing today.
Jay, you don't.
Live
don't
in the
know
moment,
how
Sava.
fans like me act.
Sava, live in the moment.
Right.
Yeah?
You don't know
At the
how
end of the
fans like
day,
me act. Stop
Sava.
doing that. You don't know how I act.
Okay.
I've seen your streams.
Guys,
I've heard you talk.
wait, guys.
Right.
Okay, stop.
Let me finish my point then.
Oh wait,
Let me
just
finish.
both you chill for 2 seconds. Okay, I've got a bunch of super chats. So, Jacob, I know you got us jump, right? You got your show starting in 3 minutes. This show's not going to go much longer. So if you need to leave, I don't know if you want to if you want to stay and then delay your start, or if you want to go and then we'll wrapping up and the redirect's happening anyway. So it's up to you. But I do have a couple of super chats. I want to bring James back in. I want to get Dave in as well on a couple of super chats before we and then Sava and Jay, you can finish off the show with the debate. Jacob, are you hanging around for a little bit longer, or do you need to go?
I got. Well, I'll probably go ahead and go. Why don't I go ahead and refill my water, stretch the legs before the show? But Sean, thank you for having me. Sava, I always enjoy hearing your side. Jay, enjoy hearing your side as well. What's that?
If I'm ever allowed to land the point.
Come on, guys.
Air traffic control, Sava. Air traffic
people on the show.
control.
Everyone's got. I'm trying to get everyone involved.
Too long.
Trying to keep everyone involved. It's got you.
Who is this bloke?
There's 6 people. We've got to respect the process. Jacob, if you need to go and get yourself ready for the show, when this is over, we're going to be redirecting over to you. So I respect it, my man. Thank you so much for coming on, buddy.
Big ups.
United Spurs of America is where everyone will be finding you in just about just a little while, Jacob. So I'll see you over there in a minute, my man. I'll pop on as well if you'll have me.
Hey, I'm putting the link in the back. Y'all can come continue this, and I'll just watch y'all argue about this too, and I'll get my little jabs in there when I can. But there's a link. I put it in the backyard for y'all. Y'all are all welcome. You know that. James, Dave, Sean, Jay, Sava,
Big
Henry.
up, Jacob.
Big up, everybody. Thank you for having me. I know I have a difference of opinion than a lot of people in the chat. And every chat I go in, they sometimes have a go at me because of my opinions. But you know what? I just want to say I love all the love that we have for Tottenham Hotspur. Whether we agree or disagree, we all love this club more than anything. I think sometimes our significant others can feel that. But at the end of the day, we all want what's best for Spurs, and I love the love. So
tomorrow, every one of our significant others is going to feel our absence.
The next 2 days, we got Burnley on Saturday as well.
yeah.
Next 48 hours for MIA.
Yeah, 100%. Appreciate
Shout
you,
out
Jake.
THFC
See you over there
Circus.
in a minute, mate.
He told me to stick to baseball. I don't actually watch baseball, but sounds like you do, my friend. Enjoy the game.
James, listen, mate. Let me get through some super chats and then we'll get back to the conversation. Just got to press pause. There's a few super chats I've missed here. So I want to say a massive shout out to Donovan. This was ages ago. What a panel. Love conversations and debates. Appreciate you, Donovan. Koala J Official is saying, Nacho in the middle. I think that's about you. Jay, I'm guessing. It must be that one.
I assume so. He's wearing a hat. You can't tell whether he's got the same hair as Iheanacho.
I'm not entirely sure. Not entirely sure at all. Love's Music is saying 46 transfer windows and counting. Yippee. He's on Levy. Appreciate you, John. But frankly, Tottenham is saying Ange can't be that stupid on what he did on Tuesday night. Tuesday night felt like a Levy agenda. Expect the same in the FA Cup. Frankly, I love you, bro. I absolutely adore you, mate. But I could not disagree with you anymore on this one. There's a lot of people that have got their agendas on Daniel Levy that would love to make this about him. I just don't buy it. If you fancy that one, if that's the way you want to, if that's where your proclivities go, then it's all good. There's lots of channels that will absolutely tell you that you're right on that one. I personally think that that's a bad take. But I love you either way. Koala's back saying, don't like Ange's way. You can F off down the Emirates. That is a Henry Wright stream type of comment. Appreciate you, Koala. We've also got Howie EIS saying, big up, Sean, keeping the mob in check. Sava is right to diss Ange for that train wreck at Fulham, yet admire him as a coach. Levy is no director of football. Levy minus a director of football. Equals a disaster. Completely agree with you. I think Sava is absolutely right with his take on Fulham thing. I completely agree with you. I think Ange was in the wrong, and I definitely think that no director of football is a kick in the teeth. Matthew is saying Brennan Johnson equals the new Bale, pacing, crossing, finishing, no fatty, no obligation. He's justifying it as a compromise if it's one or the other. Listen, for me personally, I'm not sure how I feel about Brennan Johnson. I'll tell you how I feel about Ansu Fati. I don't rate him. I do not rate him, especially when you're going to have to pay for 230 grand a week, and also you get none of the benefit. If he does, if he hits the ground running at Tottenham Hotspur, he goes back to Barcelona and he's worth an extra 40 million quid. If he doesn't hit the ground running, you've got to carry the can on his salary. If he gets injured, you've got to carry the can on his salary. It is nothing about a rebuild, loaning a player for a year when you don't get anything more than just the risk of his salary. And if he hits the ground running, you're paying for it anyway. Where's the upside? To me, not interested. Never felt comfortable about it. Brennan Johnson's another one. We're going to get back to it. Let me ask James, I need to get you in on this one, mate. This is the question that Blaine Dev, going back a while now. Blaine Dev, question for the whole panel. Let's say we get Johnson, Gallagher, and Kelly. How many of these are Ange requests / players, and how many are levies? This is the one that Blaine Dev asked about an hour and a half ago. Appreciate you, Blaine Dev. You had to wait patiently to get it called out. I was going to bring it up now, but now's the perfect time. What's the answer?
I think the answer is simply they weren't Ange's first choice, second choice, third choice, fourth choice, or fifth choice. They might be Ange's sixth and seventh choice, but we're talking about. We haven't mentioned it much on this stream, but let me give you like one or two examples. Like Gift Orban, we've been talking about him for 6 weeks. Apparently, we're in talks with Ghent. Where's that gone? What happened there? Why are we making up new transfer rumors with 48 hours to go? Well, 24 now, but like say 48 hours to 72 hours to go. Kelly, that's a new name. Gallagher, it's been on and off. Johnson's come up in the last, week or two max. I mean, in answer to the question, whether it's Levy's requests or Ange's requests, it's certainly not first requests, right? I think that's the answer to this one. Anyone else?
I think the positions might be Ange's requests. When you look at the players, it's hard to sit there and say any of them are really anyone's first choice because the manager can only, they might be first choice in what Spurs can afford to bring Ange Postecoglou to the club. Look, for me, the sort of forward areas only really became an issue once we sold Harry Kane 2 days out from the season. So that's why all of a sudden the likes of the forward areas and all started popping up as a transfer target. But the likes of Lloyd Kelly, I mean, no one's going to sit here and tell me that guy's first choice. We've been talking about these centre-backs for about four years since Toby and Jan retired, or less. Damn right? So no one can sit there and say someone like Lloyd Kelly is Tottenham's first request. Conor Gallagher, the fact that, look, Højbjerg could be on his way out, I think that's why that one springs up as well. Was it first choice of us going into the window when we're looking at midfielders?
But he's been linked for a long time, though. Conor Gallagher's not a new link, is he? Let's be honest.
But it's
been on and off.
On my opinion about first choice and second choice and stuff, I think things are certainly fluid. Brennan Johnson, by the way, is a Paratici guy. I remember this because I remember when Forest were playing in the Championship. Yeah, Paratici went to watch him and Jed Spence numerous times. We probably would have bought Brennan Johnson a year ago if Forest hadn't have come up. Yeah, but when they came up, he signed a new contract and yada, yada, yada. But I'm pretty sure Brennan Johnson is a Paratici guy. And Paratici's got a very good eye for talent. With Lloyd Kelly, the way I see it more is I think the club intended to sell Davinson Sanchez. And when the club didn't sell Sanchez, that changed a homegrown / non-homegrown slot in terms of what they're buying. And I think the club had a list of centre-backs that they're potentially looking at, like Tosin, like Lloyd Kelly, players like that. So I don't think Lloyd Kelly was the first choice player that we wanted to bring in the defence, but I think he's high up on the list of left-footed centre-backs that are available and the club can do this deal. Like I say, that when you're buying from the Premier League, in my personal opinion, people can disagree, the Premier League to Premier League now is so expensive. Yeah, it's you literally can't buy a Premier League player if the person's got a contract and he's in time. So you have to be opportunistic.
Let me ask you just quickly, though, Jay, on the Lloyd Kelly, we talk about him sort of maybe popping up. Is it any surprise that rumours popped up after Clement Langley signed for Aston Villa? We loaned Clement Langley in. We were trying to get him all summer long. We just didn't want to pay a fee for him. Langley, for me, was our first choice target. And the fact that he's now gone to Villa, now we're left scrambling around the last few hours looking at a different target to bring in.
Yeah. No, listen, and the thing is that, like, obviously there's a joined up level of thinking. I'm saying with Lloyd Kelly, I'm just like, the data probably tells them that he can play this system. He looks good. They've said to Ange, do you want him? And he said, yeah. You know, with somebody in the comments saying, oh, the guy saying data versus Paratici, the data approach that the club's done has been brought in over the last 18 months or so. So when he was scouted by Paratici, I'm not sure how much data was going on. So I'm technically not contradicting myself, but I know it sounds like I am. But the data is basically telling them now that this guy can add value to the team and he's a good player. So Gallagher, we've liked. Like I saw as soon as Ange came in, he likes Conor Gallagher. I'd like to think he's a fairly first choice. Brennan Johnson, maybe if we don't sell Kane, we're not into him. Like maybe if Brian Gill doesn't get injured on preseason, we're not into it. Like as in, I don't know the moving parts that have led to this, but I'm pretty sure Brennan Johnson was our first choice paid attacking option. Like as in Solomon was a free. So that let's say two out of the three, I think were.
I don't know about Brennan Johnson, mate.
None of
Listen,
these top.
we're never going to know, are we? Sav, are we ever going to know, mate, whether or not these players that we're signing are last-ditch saloons?
Well, we know with some of them. I think the difficulty is when we're looking at Brennan Johnson, for example.
Madison was part of the plan, right?
I mean, look, Madison, we don't need data. We don't need anything like that. James Madison's just a class act. We don't need data to scout James Madison. He's been one of the best playmakers in the country for the last 4 seasons. One of the best. There's only three players in the Premier League with better goal and assist ratios in the last 4 seasons, right? There's no, we don't need a data scientist team to put together that James Madison should be signed, right? When we look at Brennan Johnson, the difference with Brennan Johnson is we haven't really tried to sign any wingers this window other than, actually we have, but we've signed Kulusevski, we've signed Solomon. The worrying thing for me on this, and then I will get to Lloyd Kelly, the worrying thing for me on this, Sean, is, I said this to you the other day, if Brennan Johnson's your first choice, right, or one of your top 2 choices, I don't understand then why we've bought Solomon and Kulu if the guy and the data and the player who stylistically, as I was told, that we need for this team is Brennan Johnson, because Solomon and Kulusevski aren't that player. So my question is, why have we bought 2 wingers in front and then all of a sudden, by the way, I'm saying this as though we've bid for him. There's less than 24 hours. We've not even bid for the guy. And for someone who's our first choice to not bid for him until the last day of the window doesn't add up. Now, what I'll ask with Lloyd Kelly is, this is the one where we do know that this is not one of our first 5, 6, 7 or 8 choices in any way, shape or form. And this is a panic. And I'll tell you how we know this, right? I'll tell you how we know this. First of all, Van der Ven, right? Tapsoba and Van der Ven, do we all agree they were our first 2 choices? I think we all know that, right? We were in talks for both players.
Yeah.
We all know we've been in talks this window as well with Tosin Adarabioyo, right? So we know that now that puts straight away Lloyd Kelly as 4th choice. Now we'll go one more. We inquired about Nelson of Galatasaray. We know that. So now that puts Lloyd Kelly down to 5th place. We also know that we've inquired about Per Schurz, right? According to Ornstein and Romano, they both said that we.
But that's the question I've got for you, mate. That's a question I made earlier. I'm not sure if it was answered by anybody. If Paratici is still involved, we think he is. He does this thing where he spins a lot of plates. He has a lot of conversations. And we don't. And he might agree deals in an ideal easy world. He might agree deals with four and I hate it, by the way. I think it's disrespectful. I think it burns bridges. I think it's a shitty little way to do it. But he does it. It's his system.
Sure.
He spins plates. He goes agrees 4 or 5 different deals with different clubs, and then he picks one of them, whichever one is the best.
I completely understand.
So we don't know. So we don't know where the list of order of priority is, just because we know that other deals are being considered.
Okay, but Sean, we do know, because it wouldn't get down to the.
We know that Lloyd Kelly's the bottom of the list because that one hasn't been spoken about, right? I agree with that.
Right.
In terms of where Pershers, Tapsoba, Van der Ven,
that's fine.
In terms of where those things were, we don't know what the order was.
But
right?
this is my point. All of those players were much earlier in the window where we knew we were talking to these players even up until like the last couple of weeks, until the whole centre-back situation went quiet. And it has, right? The last 2 weeks, it's gone deathly quiet on all centre-backs. Then suddenly, in the last 24 hours, I mean, look, what have we got now? We've got 23 and a half hours of the window left. All of a sudden, Lloyd Kelly's name comes up. And I knew it. As soon as I saw that, right? The person who first sent me the link, I didn't see it online myself. I was streaming. The person who sent it to me said, just wait. Our fans will now find a reason that this guy is a top player when he isn't even guaranteed a shoe-in game.
Know anything about him? I'll be honest. I don't know. I don't know any. I just feel like I'm an idiot because he's a part like
he's a bit part player at Bournemouth. This is the point. Last year he played 21 league games or whatever for Bournemouth. Bournemouth since have bought 2 new centre backs. Right. My point is this: Lloyd Kelly might come in and do a really good job as a backup centre half. Right. I'm not doubting it, but you just look at it, and I'm sorry, anyone that says they're not underwhelmed with this as a signing, I'm sorry, is just trying to be a really good super fan. This is as underwhelming. This is as underwhelming as it gets. And as I said,
I agree.
And Crystal Palace have 2 centre backs better than Lloyd Kelly. Fulham have
set underwhelming, Sava. Just out of curiosity,
I feel like I've just said.
I mean, obviously, you have Van der Ven as your first choice centre back.
Yeah.
You've got Romero as your first choice centre back. Whether you want Sanchez or not, he's the backup to Romero. You need a backup. You need fair. I'm not disagreeing with you on that, but you now need a left-footed backup centre back who's available to play, and we have no cup. Yeah, so we have
Bella Kotchap was the guy we should have gone for. Have you seen the deal that Bayern Munich have arranged for him?
Yeah,
it's like a $3 million loan fee and like a 17 million obligation or something. It's bonkers cheap for such a good player.
I'll ask this. Whenever I've spoken to any fans all summer in any show I've done, now bearing in mind, I've done a lot of shows. Yeah. Speaking to Dave, speaking to Sean, Henry, Tapping Tobes. Any YouTuber I've worked with, any guest we've had on the show, any comment I've seen in the chat, not one person has ever floated or entertained the idea of Lloyd Kelly from Bournemouth, right? Yeah. Now, all of a sudden, he gets linked to us with about 30 hours of the window to go, and people start going, well, this, hang on, I haven't finished. Everyone starts going, oh, well, this data-led, it must be who Ange wants. Let's be honest. We've got to the stage. We've got to the stage where Ange has been told, right, this is what we're left with. Someone could tell me in the chat I'm moaning. I've got ambition for my football club.
The one little thing I just want to make is like exposure and watching a player. Like for me personally, how big a difference is there between Lloyd Kelly and Tosin? We'll find out. Yeah,
I've got absolutely no idea. I know Tosin.
Exactly, and that's my point. I have no idea the size of the gap between these 2 players. The data.
But I was aware of Tosin. I was aware of Tosin. I think Tosin's a good centre back. He's not a world beater. He's not someone that you're going to come across if you're a bit participant in football. But if you watch Premier League football enough, you know about Tosin. I don't know. Lloyd Kelly to me seemed to have run under the radar, and I spend most of my time watching football.
I hear it.
Sean, we've forgotten about one. If you remember, right at the start of the window, we were talking about Max Kilman, left-footed centre back. Yeah. That went very quiet as well. We approached Wolves about him as well. So there's another one for the list of 5, 6, 7.
He's gone elsewhere though, hasn't he?
We went for.
He moved already, didn't he?
But I'm talking about the start of the window.
Oh yeah. Back in the day, yeah, exactly. Another name that we were on the list that we didn't get done. Yeah. Hey, Dave, it sounds like you want to jump in. Go on, mate. Come on.
Yeah, I just want to jump in on the whole data analysis led thing. I'm sorry, when you look at the stats of Lloyd Kelly, there's no way that data analysis is throwing his name up. Nowhere near it. And as well, I think we're getting a misinterpretation of this data-led scouting. I'll be honest, if you're a big club like Tottenham Hotspur, you shouldn't need that analysis to cover the top 5 leagues. When we speak about the data analysis, you want to do what Brighton have done, what Brentford have done, where you're using it to flag up players in obscure leagues that you don't send scouts out to cover. And you get ahead of the curve that way and bring them in. The data analysis is not throwing up someone like Kelly. Daniel Levy's owned Tottenham for 23 years now. They've always been in the Premier League. I think you'll have a good grasp on what players in the Premier League are good, what are not. You look at some of the coaching staff around, some of the scouts, this, that, and the other. They all have knowledge of top 5 leagues. They've been in football for years. The data analysis is used mainly to find players from obscure leagues and then go out and watch them, rather than because it's cheaper than having someone sitting out there full time. But also, it's only used to maybe, okay, we like this player, we like the look of him, we like what we see in these leagues, and then you can go and cross-reference with the data to see if it stacks up for what you need for your system. But it ain't you ain't throwing up Lloyd Kelly out of the data, and I think many people get this twisted what it's actually intended for.
I think the data pulled up Lloyd Kelly. Like personally, like obviously, like and I know
need
people,
the data though.
No.
You shouldn't need the data for a Premier League player.
No. I get that, but what I'm trying to say is that I posted a link. I don't know if it came out before, but like 3 years ago, yeah, Liverpool were trying to buy this guy. The guy was highly rated as a kid. Yeah, the guy was an under-21 international. He's had the Bournemouth armband. Yeah. And I'm just trying to say that, like, there's been people like Nathan Ake, people like Mings, and those kind of players have gone through Bournemouth. Yeah. Some of them not highly rated, not as highly rated anyway. I remember when, people say, 40 million Nathan Ake. Oh, no, absolutely not.
But Ake was very highly rated, though, wasn't he? That's what I think the difference. He was very highly rated by many people.
Ake was highly rated, but not to the level of the player that he would become. Like, not
sure,
how old was Ake?
Better than Lloyd Kelly
when he got. How old was Ake? Because Lloyd Kelly's not young, is he? Let's be honest.
Lloyd Kelly, what, 24, 25?
He's pretty. You should be established by. I don't know.
Sean, can I ask one question? Can I ask one question to the whole panel, if that's all right?
Last question, last topic, because then we've got to round off because everyone's got to go because it's late. We've got a big day tomorrow.
I want to ask a question, and it's something I always do this, Sean, as a litmus test, right? I always say, if Arsenal, right, if Liverpool, if Man United signed Lloyd Kelly, right,
we'd be laughing.
We would all be looking at them and going, "What on earth are you doing?" We would.
If Brighton did it, we would. If Brighton did it, though, we'd probably be going. They've uncovered another gem there, haven't they?
Sure, but the thing is, the difference is Brighton don't do it from the same league, do they? To Dave's point, the data-led information.
Dave's point was spot on.
Dave's point was spot on. Suddenly, we're talking about doing
not there
data-led analysis for players that play every week in the Premier League. No one needs data-led analysis to tell you who is a good centre-back in the Premier League and who isn't. Listen, this guy could be a good substitute. Sure.
Data's to figure out whether or not a player from Midtjylland in Denmark is going to make it, not whether or not a player who's already in the Premier League is going to make it.
Can I just ask to people in your chat, can everyone calm down a little bit? Everyone's just having a debate here talking about football. The amount of people that come in and saying Jay's chatting this, Sava's chatting that. Can you not just keep it calm and put your point across? It doesn't always have to be
the chat's been relatively.
This is pretty soft. Like I've been called way worse.
My audience is generally pretty reasonable. I've blocked.
No, they're not.
I've timed out a few people, but it's not too bad. Listen, guys, we're going for 2 hours. It's been a wonderful chat. We've all got a massive day tomorrow, so we're going to round it off. James, I'm going to come to you first, my man. Thank you so much for coming on, buddy.
Pleasure.
What is going on Spurs Related? Where can people find you? I'm going to put your link in the chat now. Where can people find you, buddy? And I want to encourage everybody to get over there and subscribe to Spurs Related. Wonderful, wonderful team, wonderful channel.
Yeah, cheers, mate. No, pleasure to come on. Thanks for the invite as always. You can find me, Jack, and Andre over at Spurs Related on YouTube. If you guys could all sub to that, we've approaching like 2.5K over there. It's sort of a channel we're trying to grow. Many of you guys might know us from Instagram. But yeah, we got debates like this over on there. We've got player analysis, and the most recent one we're pushing are vlogs. Jack's been going to a lot of the games and they've been getting really, really good views for our channel size. So everyone seems to be enjoying them. So yeah, please get over there. And as I said, Sean and the rest of the guys, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, James. Thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate it. Dave, mate, Irish Hotspur, legend. What's going on over there? Tell everyone where everyone can find you and what's happening coming up this weekend.
Yeah, look, you can find me over at the Irish Hotspur. Look, being honest, I don't really do anything different to other Spurs channels. I sit there, have a chat with people and, see what comes of it. So that's where you can find me. It's been a pleasure with everyone on the panel tonight. James, Jacob, Aaron, or sorry, Jay. I don't know why I keep calling him Aaron. I called him Aaron on when I was on that channel as well. Sava, Sav, Shawnee, and also Henry. It's been a pleasure, guys. Really enjoyed it. You made my evening. You kept me company. Between Sava and Jay, I look somewhat balanced. So thanks, lads.
Absolutely love it. Jay, I've got your Twitter. What's going on, mate? Is it? I'm plugging your Twitter.
Thank
Are you
you.
active on it? You haven't got a channel, have you, mate?
No, I haven't got a channel. Like, you just find me floating around, you know, where anybody that will take me. But it's been a lot of fun. Like, obviously, like it's always just that we all want the best for Tottenham, so it's just opinions. But no, it's been a lot of fun. Follow all the lads. I think between all of us, you get one balanced, rational take. I think if you add us all together, so, if you follow all of us, it'll be great. But thanks, the comments have been great. Last time I saw a debut like this, Federico Makeda. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So don't worry about that.
Love it, mate. Love it. Thanks, Jay. Looking forward to having you on the next time, my man. Thanks so much for coming on. Next up is my man Sava Football Heritage TV. There you go. What is coming up, mate? You've got what are you doing? 94 hours out of the next 24 streaming? What's going on over the Football Heritage TV?
Just my usual 10 a.m. show tomorrow. I'm joined by Matisse tomorrow, so that should be a good show. And then a few hours in the afternoon, and then obviously the last 6 hours with you and Henry across our 3 channels. So yeah, it should be an interesting day, and I look forward to the average signings.
Yeah. I'm also going to throw out where's the last one I've got here? I've already done it already. Henry Wright TV. It's very simple to find. I haven't written it down, so I'll put it in. All the links will be in the description as soon as this show's done. And guys, of course, don't forget Jacob. I'm not even going to put the Jacob's link in the chat, because right now we're going to end off, and there's 750 of you still here. Do me the best favor. If you liked the stream, if you like the people on here, and you appreciate the Tottenham community, then do me the biggest favor right now, and that is hang around for 3 minutes, for 2 minutes, for 30 seconds. We're going to end the stream, and you are going to go over there and be dumped into Jacob's channel, United Spurs of America. He's a wonderful guy. You love him. I love him. We all love him. And go and hit that subscribe button. 700 people can go and make that guy's channel absolutely jump up. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to help everyone else. I want you to smash everyone subscribes on all the links I've already given you. But right now, we're going to end the stream, send you over to Jacobs, smash that subscribe for him as well. Be wonderful people. Help these guys grow their channels. Guys, we're going to roll off. We'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. It's going to be a wonderful day. Thank you, James, Dave, Jay, Sava, Henry, who was on, and also Jacob. Guys, we're out. Like, share, and subscribe. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.